Bit of Endeavour News. We're here with Jeff K of the Western Allies Resistance. Alliance Resistance. Western Alliance Resistance. Sorry about that.
Confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone messes this up.
How are you going, Jeff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing very well.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Hector and I'm here with my co-host Gilbert.
Hey, everybody.
Hope you're all doing well. And we've got a few things to get into. We're going to be talking about Ukraine, of course, believe it or not, Russia, Putin, disinfo, all sorts. I guess I'll send it over to Gilbert and he'll properly introduce our guest.
Yeah, so we've got Jeff K here with us. We're very honored to have him on the show with us. I personally have wanted to get him on the show for a while now, and I can tell you guys, I'm really looking forward to all the future work that we're going to do together. We've got a lot planned, or I've got a lot planned for us and for all of you watching. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of Western Allies Resistance. I highly recommend you check out his content and follow him if you haven't. It's information packed. And without further ado, I guess to start off with, this conversation with Jeff really couldn't be more timely, especially given everything that's been happening recently. Um, so Jeff, if you'd like, we can start off with the Russian active measures, or I'm happy to start off wherever you want to go to first.
Yeah, sure. Well, how I kind of got into this is, I've always been pretty active in like right-wing politics, let's say.
Mhm,
You know, I'm pretty, anti-immigration, mass immigration, these kinds of, very basic talking points nowadays, really.
mhm,
But then when
Yes.
I noticed that when I was looking when the Ukraine war happened, and I was watching all these, all this right wing media and stuff, they suddenly were all turning their, against Ukraine. I'm like, aren't these supposed to be your European brothers?
yeah.
Right. And the amount of lies that are so easily debunked, like anyone can do this, that I just thought to myself, someone's got to counteract all of this from a right wing perspective
Yeah, absolutely.
and really stand up for these guys because what they are doing is really what all these, right-wing keyboard warriors supposedly dream of doing, which is
Yeah.
Defending
fighting
against,
for
yeah, defending a nation from like an Asiatic invasion. It's like, how much on the nose do you have
exactly.
to get?
Yeah, I mean, to me it makes sense, but for all these people who just watch all these guys making all kinds of excuses for, Russia to just invade and, use even North Korean soldiers to slaughter, or at least try to. I mean, they're mostly being used for cannon fodder, as far as I'm aware. But,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to slaughter Europeans. I mean, what's wrong with you guys? Why are you guys supporting this? And then they all claim that this whole North Korean thing never happened, right? That it was like the ghost of Kiev kind of thing. Complete nonsense. I mean, now Russia came out and admitted that they used North Korean soldiers. But as always, these people, they just don't want to admit that, well, Russia is basically still communist, right? They still work together with all these communist nations. And that's why they want to push this under the rug, the North Korean cooperation, because North Korea is very openly communist,
Hmm.
Mm, mm,
right?
mm.
And I know you've had many guests already who've explained the perestroika deception perfectly, right? So we don't have to go into that too much.
No,
But
no.
it's pretty clear that Putin is not this savior of Europe or traditional values or all these people. They focus so much on LGBTQ and stuff, which is really not that important.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
But
like one thing. It's one thing, but then they're also just living in like a basically like a anti-white dictatorship. But at least there's not there's no trannies or something around, so that means it's good.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Even though there
and
is still trannies and stuff in Russia, though. I mean,
Oh,
oh yeah,
and in
Moscow,
Iran.
there's gay bars and
yeah.
everything. But every month, Putin bans LGBTQ from Russia. This- I see this headline all the time. So ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean that's not to mention, Iran as well as heavily. I mean, you've got all these Iran fanboys, like Iran super based because they're so
Super based, yeah.
yeah,
Bunch
super
of
based.
opium addicted trannies over there. I mean, they have the most sex change operations surgeries in the world, I believe, together with Thailand.
Yeah, yeah.
1 in 3 Iranians apparently is being treated for opium addiction,
Holy,
Wow, I didn't realize it
yeah,
was that
and
bad.
all of this comes from Afghanistan, by the way, which they helped to topple with the U.S., of course,
Yes.
and which is very interesting because Iran is indeed a very interesting topic, very complex. People always get very mad when I talk about this,
mm,
but
mm.
I guess that's a topic for later.
Yeah, yeah. By the
Yeah.
way, I mean, another reason why you guys should follow Jeff and his work is he's got when it comes to Iran and the Middle East, he's really got it. He's really got the whole thing. I couldn't. And I don't think anybody else can explain it as well as him. He's really clearly distilled all that information. So again highly recommend his content. You should all be following him if you're watching him, if you're watching this. So yeah, but yeah, that is kind of almost like just on the Middle East, people need to be informed on almost on that alone because it's just people are so kind of confused, and again it's just they kind of box themselves into these very overly simplistic narratives about what the Middle East is and what's actually going on when really it's again it's like a big intelligence game, counter intel game that's going on. And well, I mean, the thing is though is that you can kind of as you've shown, you can actually pull back all the weeds and begin to make sense of things if you just follow what's going on. And it's just people are maybe they don't have enough time or they're too lazy. But yeah, maybe that's a good way to shift gears. If you guys like, we could get into basically the whole crux of the issue, which is the active measures, which, if people don't know, refers to a range of covert political warfare tactics used by the Soviet Union, now the Russian Federation, to influence foreign policies and events. And that includes espionage, propaganda, disinformation, and potentially, well, not potentially, a lot of sabotage and assassination, all aimed at furthering the Kremlin's foreign policy goals. So, so that's what we could just begin to broach. Is these active measures, because that's really what we're dealing with today.
I think that's a pretty good explanation of what active measures is. Yeah.
Mm,
And the
mm,
thing is, like we talked about earlier, this perestroika deception, like the KGB never went away. They just renamed themselves. They're still very active. They're a massive intelligence network. And when it comes to active measures where they want basically their enemies to, or at least the media of the enemies to say what they want them to say, whether it's through like you know, paying them, which
mm,
I don't know if that's the case, or people, there's just this, they create a sort of like status quo. And now people who are stuck in this echo chamber where the status quo is established, they can't really talk about anything else because if they oppose it, all their viewers are going to get mad and, they lose money from that. So that's another tactic they can use. But if you talk about, for example, if you're a right wing content creator, you have pro Ukrainian talking points. Well, you're gonna get a lot of pushback,
yeah,
even
yeah,
though you can bring all the evidence you want, right? The famous Bezmenov saying, like
mm,
people are so demoralized, you can shower them with facts, they're not gonna change their mind. Like they keep bringing up, like I'm so exhausted of this, like Victoria Nuland. Right? It's like, are you guys serious? Have you
yeah.
ever listened to the entire phone call? It takes 5 minutes.
Mm, mm, mm.
right? It's really
Mm.
not hard, and you'll realize that they never talked about overthrowing Yanukovych. They wanted to keep him in power.
It's so amazing that they
About
reference something
overthrowing Yanukovych.
which actually disproves their point,
Yeah,
but it
exactly.
spreads like wild. It's so crazy,
Yeah,
and it spreads like wildfire. They go, oh, the phone call, the phone call. It's like, have you even listened or even thought about what was said on the phone call? you know, it's
yeah.
and yeah, again, like Yuri Bezmenov, like a hugely popular figure on the right? Like everybody really reveres and respects the guy, and rightfully
So
so.
it's not
But
normal
the
for
most
so it's not
essential
normal.
part of what he was trying to convey about, Russia, the communist Russia is still alive. It's still there in all these different countries around the world, and they are operating against you. There are agents in your country, and they are working against the West to try and collapse us all. I mean that part again. It's like people listen to him, and it just goes right over their head. It's it's just
Yeah,
so silly.
that's
Yeah.
something that I noticed as well. Like, you guys constantly quote Yuri Bezmenov. He was talking about the KGB, which is now
Mm,
the FSB. It never changed. They're the
mm,
same people. Like, I cannot believe in hindsight now that the West fell for this entire nonsense. But,
mm,
oh, no, don't worry, guys. We're all friendly now, out of nowhere,
Well, I mean,
right? Yeah, that's,
just see
mm,
political leadership in places like Germany. Like, it's crazy how like embedded with the Russians, just like the mainstream political establishment was there. I mean, you have like former chancellors ending up joining like Gazprom right after their
yeah.
premiership ends. It's crazy, and like apparently that wasn't an issue right up until 2022.
I mean, that brings us to a good point, and that is European politics and, how active measures, I guess, are being used there because, I see people like Elon Musk, who really is the most influential media figure in the world right now. Like, he
mm,
decides who gets popular on X, what kind of posts people see. Like, he shares all these posts like Jeffrey Sachs saying that NATO promised to not expand 1 inch eastward, therefore Russian invasion is totally justified, right? Complete crap.
Yeah,
Like, even Gorbachev said that this was not true. I mean, just the
it's literally
fact
just
that
made it up.
Eastern,
It's like source, I made it up, and that's it.
yeah, exactly. So, but Elon Musk shares it, and it
People
gets
always
like
talk about
30
it.
million views, and now 30 million people believe that that is the case, right?
Yeah.
It's extremely, and he does the same with AFD. Like, he's a big promoter of AFD. The AFD promotes the multipolar world order, right? The lady in the middle there is Elise Vidal. She has her PhD. She got it in China. She speaks Chinese. Now, I know a lot of Germans living next to them. No one speaks Chinese. Very strange, and she's supposedly this traditional German woman who is married to a Sri Lankan woman.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
Like,
bizarre.
yeah. That doesn't. Oh yeah, that's not fishy at all, guys. Like, yeah, obviously a very traditional German woman. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's speaking
well, I mean,
Chinese, Goldman Sachs background.
yeah, yeah.
I never
Yeah,
Bank
got.
of China.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just one thing I can add. I've mentioned this before, but maybe you can sort of shed some light on this, Jeff. Is that all these, right-wing European parties are against mass migration, but then it's Russia that's like literally human trafficking and pushing these people over the border in Finland and Poland and stuff. So
Exactly.
it's like, what's the sort of cognitive disconnect there? How do they justify being pro-Russian and then at the same time being anti-migration when it's Russia that is shipping in all these Afghans and Iraqis and Syrians and stuff, literally right over the border. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's always very interesting because for example, Red Eyes TV, they're also talking about, all this immigration into Europe, how bad it is. And I actually replied to one of their posts once. Are you guys ever going to talk about how Russia is actually behind all this? Like,
Yeah.
it's true that, I know people always either focus on Russia or Israel because Israel aid is definitely instrumental in
Oh
this.
yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
denying that
Yeah, yeah.
whatsoever,
Hmm. Hmm.
but so is the Kremlin.
Oh, Kremlin's way
Like,
more, I would
Russian
say. Yeah, like
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, Russian sailors are constantly being arrested in Greece and Italy, and a lot of people think that's like fake news. But then the Russian media themselves, they actually post this as well. And there was also like a headline about how the UK migrant crisis was being fueled by Putin's allegiance with Algeria. And this is another thing. Russia is really active in Africa. And if America would be doing this, everyone would be talking about it. Everyone would be criticizing it. But if Wagner Group is, toppling all these governments, it's completely fine, right? And you see this with a lot of these, these right-wing sort of like commentators in Europe as well. Like there's a famous Dutch woman because, well, probably because of her looks, right? That's the only reason, I guess.
I
Eva
know.
Vlaardingenbroek. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure.
yes.
I'm pretty sure a lot
Yes.
of people know her.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
she was at CPAC in Hungary. Now, Hungary is another thing we can get into because that's
There's a
what a
lot we can talk
crazy
about.
country that is.
Yeah.
Also seen as like Orban is also seen as one of these heroes of Europe. He's super anti-EU, super pro-Russia. I mean, Hungary is like a hotbed for the FSB. He has like this golden visa program that all these Chinese and Russians use to get like easy access to the entire Schengen area and easy visas to the US as well. But she was saying like, oh yeah, like we want a sovereign European countries. I'm like, okay, what about Ukraine? No, not Ukraine, right?
Not that one.
No. And then they talk about, and where do we see this nowadays? All this, this imperialism and stuff in Brussels. I'm like, what? In Brussels? I mean, I'm pretty sure Russia is invading Ukraine right now, and you're talking about Brussels? What a joke.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean, she
clear.
also is one of the few people who was dumb enough to forward this video by Tucker Carlson, where he was in Moscow and was,
Look at all the groceries,
praising
mate.
how cheap the groceries were, even though Russians spent 50% of their salary on food. Like, don't you realize that Russians have a lot less money than Americans, Dutch people do?
But you can buy a
Yeah.
beer for $1 or something. I think that was literally one of the things he did. It's like, wow, you can buy this.
Right. Yeah. If you make $600 a month, that's actually quite a bit. And it's funny that I see now on the right top Martin Sellner there, relevant
Yeah.
people. Well, he's promoting the fourth political theory as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
has
you
he?
scroll, if you
Oh,
scroll up a
no.
bit on that post back before,
Oh.
he's like, oh no, it's okay.
Oh, it's a Selner post. I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's like he's promoting. He's been promoting her recently from this event, and it's just like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, okay, so she wants Europe to stay European. Great, like we agree. But then why is she so supportive of Islamic Asiatic hordes, flooding into Ukraine?
Yeah, one of the widest countries in Europe right now. It's like 90,
Yeah, widest,
98.
most Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's it's just so clear, at least to us. I mean, what's going on here, and this kind of thing, like, getting, I don't know, financial backing from your enemies is really no excuse. I think. I mean, we can't really say exactly or at least I can't say exactly what's going on with Zellner and Vladimir, but I mean, we've seen what's happened with Tenet Media and Tim
Tim
Poo.
Pool, yeah. Tim
Yeah,
Poo.
yeah.
Who now has access to the White House, by the way.
Yeah, that's crazy
Oh,
to me. Like, the guy was
That is
literally getting.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like this guy was outed before, literally getting paid by people from RT, Russia Today. And, now he has access to the White House.
Yeah,
Kind
and
of
Benny
weird.
Johnson. Yeah, Benny Johnson too. That
I mean,
guy.
this guy has access to
Yep.
the White House.
Well, right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and
nice shirt there, JD Vance.
Nice eyeliner, buddy.
yeah.
With his Indian wife as well.
Yeah.
Oh
Pretty
man, that reminds me of him and Zelensky. Like, say sorry, or
It's just bizarre.
say
Yeah.
thank you, say thank you. He's like, yeah, I said thank you.
It's like, yeah, I have
really-
multiple times.
but-
Like, it was clips of it and tweets and
Yeah.
media posts and stuff like that.
there's literally whole compilations online of him saying like, "Thank you for your support. Thank you for helping us defend our country," and stuff. That whole thing was. But you can tell Trump. There is a way with Trump, and there's a way to kind of control Trump, and they've managed to figure him out. And so I mean, this this kind of erroneous, silly thinking is now in the highest places of the White House, even governing or influencing the very president's own thoughts. So this is, I mean, it seems like maybe once he reconvened with him at the Vatican, that maybe things changed a bit, but like with the likes of Vance and the PayPal mafia and Rubio, who is thought to have his, suspected of having his own, being from Cuban intelligence or and other strange ties. You know that it's a big problem, and I mean these active measures. I mean, people really need to get smart to this stuff right away, because this is happening at so many different levels that and not just in the U.S. I mean, Europe as well. Again, it's like we can see it most clearly on the right, but let's not forget, decades of this kind of thinking was just saturated in leftist political thought, and it's sort of like a new wave of right wing thought, which is now ensconced, the broader political thinking with these pro Russia talking points. But I mean the left still maintains their libtard kind of talking points, which are designed to. I mean, we can see how corrosive their sort of ideology is, that they no longer represent the classical liberal of yesteryear. Um, but I mean, yeah, it's like it's a huge problem, and yeah, what to do? I mean, is basically just keep talking about it, because this is our nation sovereignty at stake. It's can't let these people go. You need to pressure all sides of the equation, and therefore it requires being aware of all things that are acting against the West and acting against the United States. So that's what it really requires. And I guess a good segue into that is exposing Putin and his, who really is Putin. We would say he's Putin the communist. That's the most accurate depiction of who he is. People call him Putin the white Christian hero,
All
uh,
right, yeah.
and then some. If you want to go there now, unless you want to further talk about George Soros or something like that. But yeah, I mean, some know Putin as yeah, the white Christian hero, and to some Muslims, I don't know, maybe they view him another way, and Jews, they certainly view view him as. I mean, there is some amongst Jewish people. I think that there are some who maybe are critical of him, but in Russia, I mean, what was it that California rabbi said? Putin may not be good for Russia, but he certainly is good for the Jews of Russia.
Yeah, but that's because that was a Chabadnik who said that, right? That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like
Mm,
Chabad completely took over the entire everything that's Jewish in Russia, really. It's
yeah.
like that same rabbi also said, we don't have the ADL in Russia. We are the ADL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I mean, just like, I mean, people are so willing to attack the United States for those ties, which exist, but they're never willing to assault the Russian Federation for those same ties, which probably are actually even more, um, probably even more embedded in Russia than perhaps even the United States.
Oh, there are
Um,
so many Russian Israeli billionaires. So
mm,
many.
Oh, it's
I don't
actually sort
think
of
people
crazy.
realize.
Yeah, it's actually sort of
They claim
ridiculous.
they claim it's between 30 and 40, and one of them is, for example, Abramovich, who's a very well-known one.
Prigozhin was one
And
of
this
them, wasn't he?
guy, sorry,
Was it? Didn't Prigozhin have like Israeli citizenship? Oh, not Prigozhin. What was the guy in charge of Wagner?
Yeah, that's Prigozhin.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Prigozhin.
that's
yeah,
Prigozhin.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mm, mm.
Well, I'm not sure about him specifically, but for example, Abramovich is also his wife, especially, is very close to, or now his ex-wife, very close to Ivanka Trump. And Jared Kushner's brother actually went on a date with her. Very strange. He's
Oh,
way younger, and he met with Trump as well, and Lev Leviev, who's like the
mm,
king of diamonds. And we're gonna get into Africa a little bit, and he plays a big role there because like we said, they
yeah.
are really active in Africa. That's that comes with a lot of gold and diamonds too. And Leviev is rubbing his hands with that. Sure. But when you
Yeah.
were talking about Putin, the communist, that's always very interesting, and that he, is supposedly a Christian. Well, I think we can all agree that if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, right? He always says that he's a Christian, right? But he also says that Christianity is communism.
Yeah,
Doesn't he then admit that he is a communist?
that's right. That's right.
Come on,
Yeah.
they both start with C. They're basically the same thing. Come on.
Even his interview with Barbara Walters, I believe it was. No, or was it the other guy, the the funny-looking guy with the slicked back hair? I forgot his name. The famous show host. He kept pressing him. What do you believe? What motivates you? What's your innermost belief? And are you a Christian? Do you believe in Christ? And he just wouldn't give him a direct answer. And when he was finally pressed for the last time, he said, "I believe in the power of man."
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever that
In a
means.
higher power, I believe in the power of people or something like that.
Yeah, which is a communist answer, you know,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
yeah, that he believes in the rules of the laws of history and the power of man, which is directly from a communist thought. Which I mean, so and again, I mean, it's like it kind of feels like we're jumping on a dead horse right now. But I mean, you can just see like he's a very chameleon figure. Kissing the Quran. Wearing a yarmulke, lighting a menorah. Going praying in an Orthodox church. It really it doesn't matter. That they'll do and say anything that they view as advantageous to. It's basically he follows the wisdom of the Hydra, basically a multi-tentacled beast,
yeah,
um, which
yeah. That's it.
so
Yeah, these
yeah, I mean,
people are really wired differently. It's hard to imagine for the average mind to, wrap their heads around this, but these guys do anything for more power,
Yeah.
right? And that's, we always have everyone has a hard time defining communism. But to me, it's just like they're trying to create a system where the ladder between the absolute bottom class and the absolute top class is completely gone, right?
mm,
So that everyone is equally, equal in the dirt, and they are at the very, very top with all of their buddies. And, they probably have a lot of tension between each other as well because they're all power hungry, assholes basically. So, but
yeah,
that's why communism also appeals to like basically low life, right? Because they want to drag the middle class down to their level.
mm,
Well, where they all say eat the rich, but they never really attack like billionaire oligarchs or something. They just look at like people who are pretty successful in a pretty, normal way, like millionaires or whatever.
It's
mm.
But
like,
yeah, I
oh
mean,
yeah, we're gonna go
Putin.
after people that like own a house, but not the people that
Yeah,
own
Yeah,
multi-bajillion
exactly.
dollar
That.
companies.
Yeah,
which,
yeah. Oh, you have a fancy car. We can't let that happen.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You have
Really
a nice,
ridiculous. These people.
yeah. I mean, and in a sense, I mean, you look at the prevailing policies of Western world today, you do see how that kind of Marxist thinking has been absorbed into much of the political establishments in Western countries across the world. I mean, you see it firsthand. That Jeff and I we were talking about the wealth gap. and how in many cities and many countries, like there's like a lot of dirt poor people, and the middle class is, struggling to get by. But you also, the rich stay rich, and yeah, it's. I mean, I don't want to sound like a communist myself, but you can kind of see how, I mean, things aren't really getting better financially, and that's a subject in its own. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, like Putin, like people should just be able to see they re-erect statues of the founder of the Cheka in Ukraine. They have literal communist flags on their tanks, and that they raise in like Ukrainian towns and villages. How else do you say it? He Christianity is communist. Putin is a communist, and this is, with all the Lenin and Stalin statues, this is what it is. And and before the Nazbols come in and say, yeah, but communism is based. I mean, it's like for those people, it's like, you know,
Come on, mate. You got mega communism. Come on.
yeah, he got mega communist, and then
Right, Jackson
this,
Hinkle. What a
yeah.
character, that guy.
Yeah, yeah, right, right. I mean, it's basically like it's almost like leftism for people on the right, because it's essentially they're kind of thinking on the same lines. You have the
Well, they're very
BLM.
anti-capitalist, anti-free market.
Yeah, it all
Yeah.
comes. It's all. What is the conclusion of the left, who says, we support BLM, everybody's racist, everybody needs to be more accepting of gays or something, and then you have, Jackson Hinkle and Haas and people like that, and they're saying, oh, the West is degenerate. It's so terrible that they're causing all the wars in the world, when really we're being led by neo Trotskyites. Essentially, is what, who the conservative establishment is, at least. And then both of their conclusion is, it's the West's fault. We have to attack the West. We have to have a revolution. We're bad. We're evil. And it's like, hold on, hold on. I mean, who's actually the bigger evil here? You know, and who's of course who's telling them all this nonsense? I mean, Trevor Loudon did a lot of really good work exposing the left, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, and how the communists, and Diana West as well. She has done some really great work exposing how the communists infiltrated the Democratic Party, and how they did that in Europe as well, even. But I mean, yeah, with the rapidity of information, we're seeing quite quickly how they have managed to now do this with the right, um, right wingers. So I mean, this is what it is, guys. I mean, you leave these sort of, I guess, what would you call it, psychological openings in your society, because we are an open society, and we don't have the sort of defensive aristocracy that they do, even though they're completely corrupt. um, then this is sort of what happens, and the whole point is that we all do our due diligence, and we're awake and aware of what's going on, and and that we try to, we really try to actually, and you don't even really need to try. I mean, it's like there are people who still call. Although I don't know if I'm really, as a barometer. What I do find interesting is, I don't know if I see people much anymore calling an anti-globalist and even a nationalist. I think as a barometer, that is quite interesting. Maybe that's, I'm in my own,
All I
what
see
do
is
they,
like I don't really see people calling him a nationalist. All I see is like, oh, he's against the gays, and that's basically the only thing that you hear
yeah,
nowadays. Because it's pretty obvious the guy's not
That's
a
all you
nationalist.
need, really.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's the same with Trump. Really, he got elected because he's gonna, oh, there's not only two genders, and I'm gonna work on immigration. That's all it takes now.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
how low the bar is of basically conservatism or whatever.
Yeah.
you want to call it. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you talk about Putin and all these statues, all these anti-communists on the right here, you guys need to keep in mind that Ukraine got rid of pretty much all of them,
Mm,
right?
Yeah.
mm, mm,
Meanwhile, Putin is resurrecting all of so many of them.
mm,
Like, and when you desecrate the statue of Stalin, you get arrested.
mm, mm, mm.
Like, what
Yeah.
does that tell you? And he also changed the anthem back to the Soviet one.
Mm, wow.
Oh, did
Wow.
they? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he
But that
did.
that was recent. What was it? Or yeah. Or I didn't know that either. But yeah, that's
And he called the as everyone probably knows, what he calls the demise of the Soviet Union the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century, right? So, I mean, he also wants now to rename Volgograd to rename it to Stalingrad.
Yes.
And apparently, I mean, this is hearsay, but he refuses to call St. Petersburg St. Petersburg. He still calls it Leningrad. I'm not sure
mm,
if this is true, but it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
yeah. Or would I? Yeah. I mean, so the interesting thing is that a lot of people, you wouldn't really think this, but a lot of the normies actually, I think it was I should have the article, and so you guys need to fact check me on this, but I think it was like in the United States it was like 51 or 52% view Russia as the enemy, and 38% view Russia as a competitor, and then 9%, those were the three stats, and then 9% viewed Putin or Russia as a friend. So it's like even though we tend to think of normies as being the most susceptible to these persuasions in the political conversation, it appears that it's kind of mainly worked, and not so much the everyday kind of group of people that you see walking down the street, right? It's kind of we see it being most pronounced in higher positions like
Like
um,
normie
Trump's
conservatives,
cabinet.
yeah. Yeah, Trump
Yeah, well,
cabinet.
Trump's cabinet, and yeah, the conservative establishment, and even businessmen, these kinds of people, and I believe that's well, that's what Dugan professed, is that he wanted to go straight for the cream of the crop, and I believe there's been utterance of people saying the same thing. So this is that's just an important point to make, is that because people get so, like, back to what you guys were saying about um like, yeah, the bar is so low, gays and trannies, but we have based trannies, and it's like, yeah, like, yeah, at the RNC, right? Like,
Oh, right, like Alex Jones and that.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Blair,
Yeah, he has
uh,
one of those on the show quite often as well. I don't remember,
Blair
his or her name, but
Blair White,
Yeah, that's
Blair
right.
White,
ah,
and
yeah,
then
that's the one. Yeah.
there's the MAGA lady, Lady MAGA, as well.
Oh,
They
right.
tried to,
Yeah.
yeah, that's that was, by the way, the Alex Jones thing. That was really weird. How Alex is like really leering at. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I saw that, and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
really,
Like, oh, you're actually a very good-looking woman. And
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was like, "Oh,
oh
when
man.
I look at you, it's like, like, what did he said, like, some really weird, like, oh, it registers in my genetics that you're a woman." Like,
What?
that was like, no normal man would say that about, like,
Yeah.
no one would, no normal man that I know, at least, that I'm sure is of course across the board, would say those kinds of things, and it's like, yeah, what, like,
Saying that to a
yeah,
transsexual, it's like, what are you doing, buddy?
yeah, but yeah, exactly, but
Well,
the
they did
point,
find trans porn on his phone once during the
exactly right,
show, actually.
Oh,
yeah, so
He showed it on camera by accident. It's
oh no.
and when they asked him
yeah.
about it, he, like, puffed his cheeks up and went red, and he was like, "Oh, look, there are only some people who say they do it, and then, like, say they don't and stuff." And it's like, I was like, okay, there probably are, like, a lot of people who look at porn, like, and that's a big problem, but I don't think, like, sorry, like, probably none of them are looking at like that kind of foreign, like, yeah. But anyway, but the point is, it's like, yeah, like at the RNC, like you have that kind of crap, and then you have them like saying prayers to Wahaguru, like pagan Indian demon deities
Yeah, that
and
was
stuff like
bizarre.
this.
It's like, come on, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's sort of the multipolarity that they're trying to push, and yeah, there's just so many different ways. I mean, this is I mean, Marxism is a toolbox to collapse the West. Is basically what I'm trying to get at here. Is that, and I mean, it's happening in real time in the highest auspices of power, and I mean that people cannot, in spite of the Lady Maga, Blair White, and in spite of the prayers to demon deities, it's like people get so excited, like you have these ladies having beers and they're wearing like the cheese hats or whatever, or the MAGA hats,
Right.
and and it's like, yeah, people like, okay, they register Russia as an enemy, maybe a lot of these people, but it's like there's some sort of disconnect, and they're not quite realizing like the various multitude of ways in which they are, allowing, their own countries to be denatured into something weaker, and it's like, I'm sorry, JD Vance is not, and Trump is not the protector of,
He's not the
the
protector of anything except maybe his bank account. That's about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. I mean, I see Zelensky, and it's like a lot of people throw shade at him, but it's like, man, it's kind of hard to. And there might be some funny videos of him and stuff, but it's like, it's kind of
A
hard
lot of
to.
fake ones too,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
him
AI.
doing like
Yeah.
belly dancing and stuff, which is
Yeah.
super fake, but people just
Mm,
eat it up, really. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't trust Zelensky much either, but I don't know. I always find it hard to trust leaders anyway. So,
I mean,
like,
that's right.
I think if people in such positions of power, they need to be criticized.
Absolutely.
I mean, power comes with responsibility, right? So, you know, if you constantly just suck up to these people and look over all their mistakes, I mean, that's what the Greeks would call a demagogue, right? That's extremely dangerous. You
Mm,
get a cult of personality, which, with Trump, I'm a bit nuanced on the guy. At least I try to be, but
mm,
people either like completely hate the guy or super love the guy. Right? There's
mm,
no middle ground here.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's really crazy. Like you have these MAGA people and these QAnon
And
guys, and
then you got the Trump
and then you
derangement
have
people. Yeah. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
mm,
because they don't even know what his policies are. They just don't like the guy because the things he said about women or whatever.
mm,
Like I don't care about these kinds of things really. I mean, as long as someone is really doing good for the country, then so be it. But it's interesting that you talked about the left and the right here because what I think they did is they really tried to take over like academia and stuff, like Bezmenov said,
mm,
and really turn the country so left that the right kind of follows suit. And now the right is like constantly trying to fight this idiocy from the left that they completely forget to protect their own country by being involved in geopolitics. Right? You see a lot of people on the right in America, for example, saying like, "Oh, we shouldn't be helping Ukraine because it's not our war." Well, first
mm,
of all, it is when Ukraine promises to give up their nuclear weapons in return for protection from you guys. And not only that, if Ukraine goes down, who's going to be next?
yeah.
Eventually, if these guys get Europe, I mean, good luck fighting off a an actual Eurasian coalition.
mm,
Like the U.S. Army is in a military is phenomenal.
mm.
That's going to be difficult. And Ukraine and Russia together, I think they're going to, for Europe to fight back against that is really difficult.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
Ukrainians are going to be very angry at the West for letting this happen.
Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. I think even you know, I heard that Russia is outproducing Europe like 4-1 in terms of munitions and stuff like
Yeah, it's a
that. And
war economy.
oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
insane.
yeah, yeah. And it's like it certainly in the Baltics and Poland and stuff like that, and even the Nordic nations, they've registered that yes, this is a threat, and we are, and they're going trying to go into overdrive now, and Germany even. I mean, we'll see how that pans out. They've got a while before they can really begin pumping out like tanks and missiles and stuff again, but they're trying to adapt to produce what they can to propel a Russian advance in the meantime.
Yeah,
Um,
not gonna
yeah.
happen, by the way, Germans, if you guys vote for AFD. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, that's
Don't
right.
fall
Yeah.
for this anti immigration crap. Everyone in Europe is sick of the immigration, of all the Muslims coming in.
Mm,
It's,
mm,
again, a low bar. Geopolitics matters. It's
yeah.
not only about immigration. Like, and we talked about Ellie's Vital, but she's probably like the least compromised person in the party, really. It's
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, a lot of those people. It's not just her. A lot of them are very, very dubious people. Um. Yeah. It's yeah. It is. It's freaky, man. It's
Yeah.
freaky.
Did,
So.
but it's sort of bizarre that all in all these European countries that the mainstream conservatives, even though immigration is obviously like the hot button, like top issue with most European countries, like they just refuse to do anything. So it's sort of like, what are these right wing, like center right parties doing? It's like they're just
Yeah.
handing power to these, compromised supposed far right parties.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, and you can really see this by, once I started to become active on X, I really realized how bad this really was because I see all these, Bricks News, for example, promotes the AFD all the time as well.
Yeah,
But
mm,
something
mhm.
that I find very interesting about all this, by the way, is Maloney is always being put in a positive light by them as well. But I really cannot wrap my head around why that is. Because
Yeah.
Meloni is actually probably the most pro-Ukrainian leader in Europe. She's the prime minister of Italy, for those
yeah.
who don't know.
She's the only person
And
that I've seen call out the supposed right wing leader, call out like the Russian influence on mass migration. I've never seen anyone
yep,
from the AFD or the FOP or the Swedish Democrats or the National Front in France ever talk about it. It's a bit,
Mm.
exactly. I mean, she's doing really good, if you ask me. I mean, she's advocating for Holodomor recognition as a genocide.
Oh
She
wow.
rejected direct peace talks with Moscow. She supplied Ukraine with all kinds of air defense systems. She's like the only one where her uh, actions don't counter her rhetoric, right? Which is very,
why do you
very
think that
rare. But
is?
I
Why
think
is
it
that?
may have something to do with the fact that she governs in a coalition with Matteo Salvini, who is a massive Duginist
Yeah.
Yeah,
and is super pro-Russian. Did an interview with Dugin in 2016. Signed a cooperation pact with Putin's United Russia
yeah,
Party in 2017. He's very pro-Trump as well. He even wore a shirt with Putin's face on it in the
crazy.
EU Parliament in 2015, and he's constantly being reposted by Elon Musk and by Dugin. And she also used to be co-ruling, let's say, with Berlusconi, who is now
Yeah.
dead, but he also blames Zelensky for the war and all that
Yeah,
good stuff,
yeah.
right?
Mm,
And on X, people are constantly trying to make it appear as if Maloney switched sides on Ukraine, which just is not true.
mm, mm.
And they're very active in Italy, which I kind of
What?
understand.
Why do you
Like,
think
there's
that is?
also
Did the Putins did they just put all their resources into like subverting like the Liga party instead of the Brothers for Italy party? Like, what's the deal with that? Was that just a wrong? Did they bet on the wrong horse? Because it seems sort of strange that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I find it very strange as well because I usually see when these kinds of outlets start to promote the European leader, they're bad news.
Hmm,
But with Meloni, they're like, although they are using her as like a sort of like a arch enemy against Macron, and they really dislike Macron.
yeah,
Mm,
So she because she does she I don't know, they had like a handshake, and she looked kind of like weird at him, and they're all over it, like, oh, you see, everyone hates Macron,
Yeah.
And
But Maloney looks at everybody weird. She's a very expressive woman
yeah,
with her eyes. She's always giving people funny. It's actually very adorable and endearing. But she does that with everyone. She's always making these sort of exasperated expressions. So yeah. But I want to jump in, but I'll let Jeff finish his point.
yeah. There's also in Italy a Forza Nuova, which I don't know if you guys know this party, but it was at the 2015, the leader of it, Roberto Fiore, he attended the International Russian Conservative Forum in St. Petersburg, which is funny because Nick Griffin of the British Nationalist Party was there as well, where he said it's Russia's time to rule, and he posts all these
That's
things on his
crazy.
X like
Yeah.
I stand with Russia, and also Greece's Golden Dawn was there, who
Yeah.
are also very much in bed with Dugin, but also the left-wing party in Greece, Syriza, is as well.
Mm,
They're also very pro-Russian, and they're
mm,
constantly pinning these two parties against each other.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. Sowing division and getting them to fight, and then yeah,
Yeah,
right.
why are these
That's
parties like? Why are these supposed nationalist parties always like for Russia, but not actually for their own country? It's sort of crazy.
so
Yeah,
stupid.
and no one bats an eye. Isn't that interesting? I mean, the whole Brexit thing, which was, Nick Griffin was pretty active with that as well. And of course,
Oh yeah.
what's his name? Nigel Farage, who was on RT many times, by the way.
Mm,
These guys
mm,
were really key in Brexit, cutting off Britain off of Europe, really. And
mm,
Dugin advocated for this in his 97 book, Foundations of Geopolitics, where he called the UK an extraterritorial floating base of the US, right? That
Yeah.
should be cut off from Europe to weaken the Atlanticist alliance.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's funny because I went to London once,
Mhm,
where we went to this conference of the British. I never remember the name, British Traditional Group or something. And
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
man, these guys were so anti-American.
mm, mm, mm,
Like at least the presenters, I mean, the people there, they weren't. But it's all these British boomers that are really mad at the U.S. It seems.
mm. Yeah, they really hate America because America's like the one thing that's kind of in their way. I mean, China has America in their crosshairs, and Russia, of course, has America, and as a consequence, all their satellite nations is focused on America because that is the one thing they need to be crippled
Yeah,
before they can have solid global communist domination of the planet.
I
Um,
mean, Khomeini of Iran, he says this all the time. Israel is little Satan. The U.S. is big
Yeah.
Satan.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
so funny.
It's yeah, just basic rhetoric and people their lids. But yeah, I also just on the previous point about Italy's Russian subversion of Italy and Italian politics. Berlusconi was very close friends with Putin. They used to go
Yeah,
out drinking and whoremongering together,
Yeah.
and they were very close. And what you find with the Putin's oligarchs and his friends, his aides is it's funny these for communists these oligarchs they have very fine tastes for things like wine, fine wine, and fine dresses and suits and fabrics. So very often, they flock to the countries that do these sorts of things the best. And I think there's been a real for various reasons that they've really tried to concentrate their operations very hard on Italy and Italian politics, and as such, there are actually quite vast Russian KGB networks that exist in Italy today. I think there was a Russian defector, or that there have been cases, I believe not just one, but one in particular recently, where a young guy tried to defect, and the Russian mafia in Italy actually found him and killed him. But I'll let you guys find that one out. But yeah, it's Yes,
No,
I
he
mean,
just fell out of his apartment.
yeah, yeah. Those windows, man. I mean, sometimes
Yeah,
I just find myself just flying out of them, and I catch the ledge in time. But yeah,
yeah, exactly. It was especially when these ballet dancers were found that jumped out of a window. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, people with such high coordination just accidentally trip and fall out of a window. Okay.
yeah. All right, sure thing, sure thing. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of that, and a lot of poisonings too. So yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, they're brutal. They're
mm,
absolutely brutal.
oh yeah, they'll do it. They'll do it all in anything. So yeah. But that's another thing that's like trying to impress upon people this idea that things are not as it seems. Maloney is this lady was obviously very she has good instincts. She has a good political immune system. She understands what Russia is and what they're trying to do in Ukraine. But she is in a hotbed of Russian political
Yeah.
subversion.
Coalition partners
And
like the League, which
yeah.
is subverted. Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
Salvini. Yeah, absolutely.
mm, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, guys, this is just kind of what goes on across the board. And
Yeah, and this is just one of the countries here.
mhm,
Right? I
I
mean,
mean,
just look at what they're trying to do in Romania, for example, with Georgescu and stuff.
Jeff, it's actually yeah, that too. I mean, I just the sheer scale of their operations is just truly astonishing. I mean, they're in South America, they're in Europe, they're in Africa,
Oh yeah,
it's everywhere. It's like there is some sort of influence that there isn't a pie that they don't have their thumb in. So yeah, people really need to understand that they can't view their politicians
Uh,
as you say that they can't have this thing of demagoguery. And I mean that amongst this sort of what still may be deemed the alternative right. I mean, is this people? I think people are sort of very slowly waking up to Russia, uh, and its influence with Israel and stuff like that. But what people still seem to miss is Iran. And of course, Iran has been in the news a lot. And yeah, but because there have been skyrocketing tensions, especially with Israel, aggressing against them these past couple of years. So I mean, people don't understand that. Yeah, Iran again. They had a communist revolution where they uh, deposed the Shah from power, the original Iranian leader, I guess. And as such, there's like tens of thousands of KGB agents and like even tens of thousands of Mossad agents there now.
that's right.
Um,
Well, yeah, allegedly, but I believe it.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me think that's why Netanyahu suggested that is their plan to dismantle the nuclear enrichment facilities because of their vast network that they share with Russia and their own personnel by just using these agents to oversee the dismantling of. But yeah, I mean, this is where people really fail to kind of the Middle East is so important. People can't really make heads or tails of this situation. But would you like to sort of like break down for us what's happening? What's the best way that you could kind of synthesize it for people who are listening to this now and who may be confused about the situation in Iran, Jeff?
Yeah, it's very complex. People need to understand that first of all, Iranians are not Arabs; they're Persians.
yeah.
That's a mistake a lot of people make. And even Scott Ritter, this is not me condoning Scott Ritter, but Mr. Chechnya. But
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys know this, but he actually went to Chechnya, gave a whole speech in Russian in front of Chechens and
that is
stuff.
so crazy.
What
Yeah,
a
that
That
is
is crazy.
so insane. And he's doing
But yeah,
vodka
he
shots
said,
with the yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, he said, he quoted someone. He said, "When are you guys going to understand that we hate Arabs way more than we hate the Israelis, and we're going to work with the Israelis to basically just murder Arabs?" And that's absolutely what they've done. And in the book Charlie Wilson's War, there was someone who said he was a former CIA officer, and he said that there was someone named Avrakotos. He said he knew too much about Israel's complicated relationship with Iran, how the Mossad had half of the mullahs on its payroll before the revolution. Now, the crown prince, the son of the former Shah, he said in a podcast with Patrick Bet-David, who's a pretty popular YouTuber, that half of the mullahs were on the KGB payroll, right? And the Shah was actually very critical of Israeli influence in the West, especially in the US. And, he was also talking about how there was this new concept that he was constantly fighting against, which is Islamic Marxism,
Mm.
right? So, and then someone asked the interviewer, like, hey, these Islamic Marxists, are they a problem? He said, oh, yeah, every day more so. He was constantly every day fighting against these infiltrators. So eventually he got overthrown. And, apparently half of the mullahs were on the Mossad payroll and the other half on the KGB. And it's interesting because RT, well, Yuri Bezmenov talked about this Patrice Lumumba University in Moscow, which is also known as, like, I don't know, it has multiple names, but it's pretty confusing, but that's pretty much what it is. And it's a KGB controlled school. And RT actually said that this was set up right after Africa got a lot of African countries gained their independence from Western colonial powers. And what they do is they train people, basically military from all kinds of countries, and then make them world leaders. And they said among the alumni is Mahmoud Abbas of Palestine and Khomeini. Now, it's not really clear if they're talking about Khomeini or Khamenei, right? Because the names are very similar, but it doesn't matter. I mean, these guys, they're so similar in their rhetoric and in their actions, and they are clearly aligned with Russia, heavily so. But what people don't know is that Israel actually works together with Iran behind the scenes sometimes as well. And Iran helped, like I said earlier, in Afghanistan, for example, which is pretty bizarre because what's his name again? Ehud Barak, when he
Yes.
was on live television right after 9/11, he said that all these Western powers and Russia, he said, need to basically invade Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Iran. So Iran actually helped with Afghanistan. They really wanted to take out Saddam, and so did Israel. America didn't have much to gain from it, but hey, they were basically dragged into it by a lot of, nefarious forces in the high positions of power in the US. And, they got rid of Saddam. And then in Libya, that's something that Iran really supported as well. Let me see here. I have a note that I made from this. Here, Iran welcomes Gaddafi's death. The inevitable fate of all dictators and oppressors who do not respect the rights of their people is destruction, which is incredibly
That's
hypocritical
ironic
coming
coming from
from
our Iranian leadership.
exactly. And Khomeini also said that the Iraqi people must get rid of Saddam, who opposes the interests of Islam and the Quran.
Yeah.
Right. And well, you see, this is really funny because if Ehud Barak says we need to invade these countries, including Iran, if you are next on the chopping block and you know this is the case, are you really going to help the people who are going to invade these countries that are supposedly going to invade you next? There's really something off here, right? And the US actually investigated illegal military equipment shipments from Israel to Iran, which were intercepted in Greece.
Yes.
Khamenei is a massive Marxist. He always talks about, he promotes BLM. he talks about white supremacy all the time, right? All these garbage talking points that Mahmoud Abbas does as well. And it's to me, it really seems like when all of this is going on, Khomeini is shouting death to Israel, even though they have like what was his name again?
Ehud? Oh no, sorry.
No, Yitzhak Rabin.
Right,
Yeah, the
right.
former Israeli prime minister said Israel, Iran is Israel's best friend, right? And you have Zarif there, which is interesting because Zarif was actually one of the people who was in the meeting where Iran gave the US like clearance, like, hey, you can use our airspace to basically go and destroy Iraq.
Mm.
And Netanyahu joked about it later on as well. Like they had like a wreck of something, and he was like, "Hey Zarif, does this look familiar to you?"
Mm.
And they always claim that Iran really wants war with Israel. Well, if that's true, why does Netanyahu make such a clown show out of this whole thing?
Mm. Mm.
Like,
Mm.
have you seen him with the bomb drawing in front of
Oh
Congress?
yes, yes, I have seen that. Yeah, let
Like, it's
me pull
just
that.
clownish, seriously. Like, he has
Yeah.
this drawing of a bomb. He says, "Yeah, we're at 90% now. They're so close to getting nuclear
Oh, yeah, that
weapons,
one's
right?"
ridiculous. Yeah.
And then he also has this other presentation where he pulls down a curtain and there's tons of CDs behind him. And he says, "Yeah, this is like I don't know how much like nuclear secrets that we, the Israelis obtained from Iran." And I think they're completely full of it.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
But this only really, yeah. Look at this. I mean, are you serious?
He does this quite a bit actually. He's done this before. I've seen he what was it? He had like a map or something. Um, yeah, and the CDs. Yeah, it is sort of like the guy is really weird. He also posted the well, he didn't post, but he was in
He's
his
just a
office.
psycho, really.
He's
I
a
mean,
psycho. I mean, but
for us, it's hard to wrap our heads around this behavior.
because it's so clownish. It's
Yeah.
so cartoonish. Why would you give Trump a golden pager and then a normal one, and then why would you talk about let's see
After you blew up pagers of the Lebanese.
yeah, 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 that's right. And then he was talking about what was it? He had the vaccine, the syringe on his desk.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was I
On display, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but gosh, I wish I had the I'll try and look for it, but I mean that was yeah, obviously a really creepy dude, a really weird guy to yeah, what was he said? Yeah, the story of every guest comes to I show the arrowhead replica of a Roman arrowhead from the Battle of Yodeft. Yodeft was the first fortress in Galilee that fell to the Romans. Then later Gamla, then Jerusalem, a great destruction. And when I tell them the Romans are no longer here, that was their arrow, and this is our arrow, the most sophisticated dart missile in the world. And now I'm showing them another dart, the syringe, which what he was saying in Israeli. Um, and yeah, creepy, very
Yeah,
creepy.
they're really
Uh,
obsessed with the Romans, aren't they?
yeah, yeah, but I just can't get
Always
them.
talking about the
Still
Romans.
seething
Still
2000 years.
salty.
Yeah, still salty
Oh yeah,
2000 years later.
they have like a whole holiday surrounding their like I don't know like a that they
Mm,
mourn the destruction of the temple or something.
Yeah.
mm,
Very
mm.
strange.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I mean, most of this Iran info I got from Johnny Gat, and someone actually there was an Arab who replied to one of his videos. He said, to put it this way, Iran is full of talk, lacking any practical solutions other than taking their fanboys a ride with their boring cliche, Markbar Israel, death to Israel, threat
Yes.
since the bastardized revolution sprung out of Satan's womb, killing more Muslims than ever. Fuck them and Israel.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Well,
Total hypocrites.
well, the
Yeah.
Israeli government like isn't actually very popular with the Iranian people. There's protests like every year. There's mass protests like against the government. The economy's in the toilet. Like Iran's really not doing well. So
Mm,
and
mm,
yeah, just
Yeah, and Yeah, and even the Chechens, they went to Pakistan, and the Chechen official Yander BF is his name, said that he was visiting Muslim countries to request assistance for his government. He would not
Right.
visit Iran, however, because Iran is playing the role of the agent of Russia.
Yes.
It is helping the Russians against the Chechen people. Now, when I talk about, Iran and Israel having some sort of secret relationship, it's very important to understand that Israel and Russia are actually very close, even though a lot of people think they are like pretty neutral together. But a lot of their elites are actually former Soviets and Russian. I read posted this whole secret files thing about how KGB spies in Israel's top political and military echelon, and the KGB's long history of running agents in Israel. There was an Israeli woman who wrote an article. Israel's former Soviet immigrants transform adopted country. Russian speaking Jews who arrived over the past 20 years have integrated little, but influenced everything from culture to politics. And this includes high tech, which is also something we need to get into because
Yeah.
if Israel is really not the greatest ally of the US, and they're actually pretty close with Russia and China, and passing along, yeah, there it is,
Mm,
passing on US military technology to China and Russia. I mean, and
mm.
they have their hands, they become this cyber juggernaut. The US is in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
here is, for example, another one. The USSR is our second homeland, said one kibbutznik when Stalin died. Incredible as it may seem, Stalin's Soviet Union was once at the center of Israeli identity.
mm,
So Stalin was actually, or the Soviet Union was actually the first one to recognize Israel. People
Yes.
always say that it is America, but that's just not true. And it was the first state to do so de jure 3 days after independence. It had
mm,
come out in favor of a Jewish state well before the United States, as did its satellites, Belarusia, Ukraine, Poland, and Czechoslovakia. Now, in 48, the Soviet Union also gave them a lot of arms through Czechoslovakia to win the war against the Arabs. And Ben Gurion said that they saved the country. I have no doubt of that. Now, Ben Gurion was the first prime minister of Israel, and he said, I am a Bolshevik.
mm,
And Ben Gurion also talked about Eurasia and how they wanted to create a Eurasian state led from Jerusalem, right? So he was definitely in line with all of this. Netanyahu's son, Netanyahu himself, is actually Milakovsky, right? He comes from Poland.
mhm, mhm,
So his son said, most of my friends are Israelis who were born in Russia. The immigration from the Soviet Union is among the glorious immigrations that have been here. An immigration that brought the country many intellectuals, Zionists, and patriots. The absolute majority of immigrants from the USSR are members of the national camp, and of those, most vote for Likud. Likud is the natural home of Israelis from the USSR. Now, I really hope you're going to get the. I know you were talking about Jeremy Rothkushel. He
mhm,
knows a lot about this. So that would be a very interesting episode to do.
mm. Yeah, we'll get him on. We'll definitely get him on soon.
There he is. Yeah. Have you ever seen this clip of him where he actually talks about this? Where what's his name again? This lawyer of Epstein,
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
Alan Dershowitz, is that his name?
yeah, Alan
Dershowitz. Yeah,
Dershowitz.
where
Yeah.
he confronts him and talks about him. Like, when have you noticed that when he mentions Robert Maxwell, this grin on the face of Dershowitz immediately goes away? It's hilarious.
Oh
That's
no.
that's crazy that people think Dershowitz is like some sort of, respected, I don't know, intellectual when it's like, dude was literally the Epstein's lawyer. Like, what are you on about? Like,
Yeah,
occasionally you'll see him pipe up about something. It's like, dude, just go away.
Yeah, yeah. That's embarrassing, isn't it? With him on Epstein Island. Oh, I had a few massages, but I kept my shorts on. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, apparently he
Um,
like donates to Trump or something now. He's like a Trump advisor, which is crazy to me. Like, what the
yeah,
heck?
yeah.
It is. Yeah,
Well, yeah, they both went, so that's yeah, that's
that's another
something.
thing, by the way, with Tim Pool. He went from getting rubles to getting shekels. I mean, he now works for Ben Shapiro.
Oh, does it?
Does he? I haven't really followed that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, that's something interesting then. Well, there you go. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's safe to say with all that information, like, at best, Israel is, you know, playing its own cards for its own benefit. It's sort of playing both sides. It's got a finger in each pie, but at worst, they're working directly with all of our enemies to bring about what is essentially a communist, a global communist revolution. And yeah, that
Yeah, I
is,
mean, there's a lot of weird things going on there with like there's like a whole temple cult where they
yeah.
want to have like a messiah rule the world and stuff. Again, that's something you have to talk with Jeremy about because he knows more about it than I do. But
Mm,
I know that Dugan is kind of involved in this as well, which is
yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. Oh, he's deep into Kabbalah and
Oh yeah, he
the
said that it
occult.
was the greatest achievement of the human spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, he's deep into. Yeah, it's weird. What does this old Russian man have to do with the rebuilding of the or the building of the third temple? Yeah, why is he so keenly? But anyway, I mean, he believes in magic and all this kind of thing, and yeah, weird guy. Weird. He what was it like? Him and his friends used to do all kinds of. He was also a big fan of Aleister Crowley,
Yep.
and
Yeah, that's
as
not
such,
surprising.
that yeah, yeah, and as such, they used to do all kinds of weird, creepy, gross stuff, and just heavily abuse alcohol and hard drugs and things like that to achieve what they viewed as being higher states of being, and that they always had to push it forward to even. I think a couple of them even died
Yeah.
going about this because it was so. Yeah, but
Well,
yeah, very weird, and these are the people that have Putin's ear,
yeah,
so.
it's sort of crazy. I said it before the stream. It's like Dugan's beliefs are like so insane that he should basically just be like a lol cow on like the same
Mm.
tier as Chris Chan talking about the dimensional merge or whatever. It's like people actually take this guy seriously, and he's got a lot of influence, and he's right wing, pro Putin, sort of. Well, not even. I don't even know what you call them. The third worldist
Mm.
Vatniks,
yeah,
that's what we
Vatniks. Yeah,
call them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy that this guy with all these crazy beliefs that like don't make any sense is some respected philosopher and political scientist.
Mm,
It's bizarre.
mm. Well, Netanyahu was very close in the his earlier days was very close to Menachem Mendel Schneerson,
Oh
and
yeah. Yep.
Schneerson, constantly, I guess, insisted to Netanyahu, you must bring about the coming of the Messiah.
Yeah.
You're not doing it fast enough. What are you doing? You must hasten the process and stuff. And he's like, I'll do what I can, Rabbi, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. It's
like
always funny. This Menachem Mendel Schneerson, he also gave everyone $1 to bless them, US dollar.
yeah, US dollar, right? Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, Chabad is a really interesting topic because they are obviously very big in Russia. And this Beryl Lazar, the chief rabbi, he also says Putin loves Israel, right? He always talks about
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, and Putin, as well talks about how much he loves Israel, how he visited with his family,
how
and
impressed he was. And yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it's and they both agreed, both American and the Russian government agreed recently that okay, whatever happens, Iran should not be able to attack Israel or something like that. Did you guys see that headline? That was the one thing they like had to agree upon. But I thought that
right.
was
Yeah,
very
well, like I said earlier, I don't think that's even going to happen. I think that's all a show, as crazy as that may sound. But
interesting.
it really seems like they wanted to get rid of the Shah and they did. And now they have this clown in office who's like, death to Israel, death to America. Yeah. Well,
Mm,
it's, what they do is they basically use Israeli war crimes and blame it on the West. And they always say, oh, yeah, it's Western backed. And Jackson Hinkle does this too, for example, who
mm,
also, who's super fan of China. And today he posted again, Putin is a hero. He says China is winning in all caps, and I'm like, you have in your profile you're an American patriot, and you're like, our enemy is winning.
Yeah, he's
It's
literally
like-
meeting up with like the Houthis and stuff, and it's
yeah, yeah. Oh
That
man, what a guy that is with his communist, American Communist
yeah.
Party. Yeah, this guy does the same thing. Like he's constantly, talks about the Palestinian issue, tries to gain all the favor of the Arabs, and turn all the Arabs against the West. And that's what they always do. And they use like anti-Israeli or anti-Zionist rhetoric to do this. And like I said, Khomeini always says, that. Israel is little Satan and America is great Satan. What it really is this guy is just an anti Western piece of garbage who really wants to take down the superpower of the West. That's
Right.
all it is in the end. And
Yeah.
here, Iran, here's a headline Iran leader, collapse of Western civilization greater than defeat of Zion. Well, there you go. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, totally.
And they're all doing this, all these people on RT, like Ben Norton, he also said, like, Israel is is a white colonialist state, a white supremacist apartheid, just like its imperial sponsor, the U.S.
Mm.
And here is Ava Bartlett, also on RT. Fucking white colonial settler state of so-called Israel, murdering Palestinians in media blackout. Here's another one, Patrick Henningsen, also on RT. Actually, you have it backwards. Israel is made up of mostly white European settlers. Well, first of all, most Jews don't even consider themselves to be European. They're basically nomadic people, right? I mean,
yes.
they have also this song like "I'm not white, I'm Jewish." I mean, they have a separate identity, and that's how they see themselves. But what they are trying to say here is like, oh, the West established Israel. They always point out like, what was it again? The Balfour Declaration, right?
Yeah. Which
So,
really, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, go
so
sorry.
it was the Brits who established it, right? Even though the Soviets had way more to do with it in the end. But
Yeah.
that's always how it is. They use Israel to stir up hatred against the West, and especially those of European descent, whites, let's say.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it all works together. Actually, the British, yeah, they actually tried to prevent
Yeah,
the
well, I mean, there was a
big-
whole
Yep.
like, the what is it? The King David Hotel bombing was by Zionist terrorists, basically.
Mm, mm. Yeah. No, it totally was. Yeah, that was exposed as that, and yeah, they tried to prevent the creation of it, and they basically just used like the Balfour Declaration as some sort of excuse. When yeah, they tried to prevent the mass immigration of Jews into Palestine. So it's really, and that's another thing. Like a lot of these Palestinian groups and websites and support groups, they never mention the Soviet Union's role, which is like the
Never.
reason, yeah, which is like the
Nope.
reason why, Israel was established.
Well,
It's
yeah, well, that article that I was reading from earlier, at the end it says from the 50s onward, the Soviet Union did its utmost to erase the fact of Soviet support for the creation of Israel from official history.
mm, mm, yeah. Well, what do you? Yeah, so I mean that is eventually the Israelis decided, no, we don't want to be like a communist or a socialist state, satellite of, or at least publicly, that's what they
I
how
mean,
they
it seems to
postured
me
themselves.
that Israel is like some kind of Soviet backdoor into the West, really. The West
Well,
just
yeah,
blindly trusts the Israelis, even
well, yeah,
though a lot of them are actually Soviets,
yeah. Well, I mean, even
especially Likud.
mm, mm, even Colonel Stanislav Lunev, the one of the highest KGB defectors, said in his
Yep.
book, I believe, Through the Eyes of the Enemy, said that, look, if we needed anything, from any intel on the West, we would just go through Israel, and Israel would provide it for us.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Still
there
are.
you
They're
go.
still doing that. Literally, they're
they're still
just
doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, it's horrible. Like Jonathan Pollard, like he was welcomed back with open arms by Netanyahu, of course, and by Israelis too. And they were like, "Oh yeah, it's so horrible what happened to him. It was so unfair. I mean, unfair. The guy should have been executed.
That's right.
Serious?
That's right. That's right.
Like this
Yeah.
guy stole so many secrets and just gave it to China and probably just the Soviets in general." And there's also this great article. It's called Israel and the Unexpected New World Order. It says, geographically, Israel's just off center. Why then is it treated with such respect by the likes of Russia and China? Well, that's because of the Belt and Road Initiative, right? That's what it's all about.
Mm,
And I mean, if you look at this, Israel and China, a marriage made in heaven, says Netanyahu.
yeah.
For Beijing, Israel is a particularly attractive partner as China attempts to become a global leader in the high tech sector. Like, remember when this Chinese AI came out and it was cheaper than ChatGPT, but it was basically the same. And some people actually found parts of the ChatGPT code in it somehow.
Yeah, there's a
Mm,
stolen tech, basically.
They
yeah.
just stole it, man. The Israelis stole it, gave it to China, and they made a cheaper version of it. That's what. I mean,
Yeah.
I hardly even need to see the evidence of this anymore. Like here, this was in '93. Israel selling China military technology. CIA chief asserts. Israel has sold advanced military technology to China for more than a decade and is moving to expand its cooperation with Beijing, says James Woolsey, director of Central Intelligence. And then in '93, another one, Israel accused of selling U.S. secrets. Officials accompanying Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin on a visit to China confirmed that Israel had done deals, but would not elaborate. He's like, yeah, we did it. So what?
Yeah. Do we ever hear of, the Israelis giving us or the Americans any like Russian or Chinese secrets? I don't think we see headlines for that.
Not exactly,
Often.
no.
Yeah, no. I mean, would be nice, but yeah, no. That it seems it only goes one way. Seems like it goes out of the West to into China and Russia's back pocket. So, yeah,
Yeah, do you
yeah.
remember the Levy fighter?
Yes.
Oh yes, yeah. I think we were just playing a video on that actually, and
Oh, I wasn't watching, but
yeah,
yeah,
no.
that's bizarre, really.
Mm,
Like
mm,
Israel had this whole project that the US funded to make like a Levy fighter, is what it was called, a
mm.
fighter bomber, and then they canceled it. But then suddenly China had a eerily similar. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh man,
Same like electronic warfare system as well, and some other crucial components that are the main thing that makes any military device important and actually having an advantage over the enemy. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just
yeah.
like a cheap, banged up version of the Levy. It's their J10. So yeah, yeah, that's
Really bizarre. And then, what's funny is Netanyahu came out and said China is spying on Israel to steal US secrets. Like, sorry, guys, but we steal your secrets and then China just happens to steal it from us. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
clearly, he's full of it. He just has to make up some excuse. It says there as well Netanyahu ignored the intelligence operations of Beijing and Moscow for too long. Now the Israeli government is finally paying attention, but it could be too late. Sure.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah that this is part of the. I mean, they try to keep it quiet because they know that this would cause quite a stir within the Republican Party, who instinctually are very against China, and they can't really put that cat in the bag. So if they hear Israel
As they
going,
should. I
Yeah,
mean,
of course.
yeah, yeah.
mm,
That's
mm,
another thing, right? Like on the right, a lot of people think China is not a threat. They think it's only Israel
yeah,
and
yeah,
not Russia, not China. No, it's Israel only. No,
mm,
I mean it's a whole coalition against the West and
that's right.
especially the US. I mean, the US is always the main target because the US is obviously the superpower that we have. And yeah, I mean, it's also because of people like Alex Jones again, right? Like he's always talking about the Chicoms own Hollywood, the Chicoms this and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chicoms are a big problem, but they do not own Hollywood. Man.
but
getting
come on, it's like what's his name? The wrestler John Cena did like a Chinese advert once or something.
Oh
So that means
yeah,
China owns
yeah.
Hollywood.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was really weird.
They made him like eat an ice cream in a limo or something
Yeah,
in the back of a Chinese
Yeah,
limo.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I
I
mean,
mean, even if you look at all the people who played a role in the creation of the CCP, like the chief architect is known as Grigory Voitinsky. Well, that doesn't sound like a Chinese man to me.
yes, yes.
And there's also Grigory Gershuni, Boris Shumyatsky, Mikhail Borodin, all these names. David Crook, Sidney Rittenberg. That's a really big one. Israel Epstein, Sidney Shapiro, Solomon Adler, Michael Shapiro, Sam Ginsburg. I mean, that doesn't sound like Chinese men to me.
yeah. They were just very diverse back then, okay?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
The Chinese are
they,
definitely known for their diversity. Yeah.
yeah, the Chinese were so advanced. They just had all the DEI and all the woke stuff before anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, all the fruits of diversity. but
Yeah, and even today, really, all these Russian propagandists, or at least I guess they're like BRICS propagandists, really.
mm,
I mean, this like Jackson Inkle again, when he says China's winning, they always show a video of Shanghai
yeah. So
because
just like a bunch of LEDs.
almost
yeah,
everything else
who
they're
cares?
never gonna show you. They're never gonna show you rural China because it's a mess. These
Yeah.
people have absolutely nothing. It's really horrific. But then they just show like the few parts of China that are really prospering. And with much of it is actually Western money. And when I talk about Western, I don't mean like the average Western person. I mean like Wall Street, the City of London. They
Yes.
invest heavily in China, which is extremely traitorous. But these people, again, they only care about their pockets. Really.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Oh my gosh, shiny skyscraper
Yes.
LEDs.
Yeah. Skyscraper with
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
LEDs on it. Wow.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, yeah. Bing. It's like Bing Bing Wahoo kind of
Oh
almost.
man, it's kids, children learning kung fu at the age of 5.
Yeah.
We're losing, guys. It's like
Yeah.
really stupid videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally just found one. I just put in like China City into Twitter, and it's Jason Hinkle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. All the lights. This one isn't even
This
that
one, yeah,
over
that
the
one
top.
just looks like I don't know, like an average.
Just looks like a big lamp.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
just go to Jackson Ankle's page and scroll a bit. You'll see. He always posts like,
Talking to
"Oh,
some
here,
commie.
China
Yeah.
has defeated U.S. trade war." He's proud of it too.
Defeated.
Gaddafi did nothing wrong.
I don't even think he knows what he's like talking about. Like he
Yeah,
just
China's winning. What a
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Nah, I mean, this guy, before, he was a huge lefty. And then suddenly he started to talk about all these talking points. He's all wearing fancy suits suddenly. Like something happened to this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Someone
Look at this. The swastika on NATO.
NATO blown out. Can NATO ever recover
Hilarious.
from this?
Yep.
Yeah.
We lost.
Yeah, I mean, so really, I mean, they're calling the U.S. the Great Satan, but I mean, if you listen to what like evangelical people talk about a nation of many waters, like an antichrist system, and that spans an empire across many countries. I mean, it really sounds like this kind of triangle of much of the Middle East and Russia and Israel and China. That this is actually what the Great Satan is.
Look, a bajillion
And
people and a bunch of LEDs. That means China's winning, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, just put more shiny.
It's silly, man. Like, also, there's another thing that's really big on X is these Western demoralization accounts that are always run by like Indians and then they're being propped up by Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Like, Inevitable West is one of them.
Yeah.
And they show, like, for example, Paris, and they show like a Muslim neighborhood and they say, Europe is lost. Like, what? That's like such a small part of France. Like rural France does not have Muslims. Paris is still one of the most beautiful cities in the world. They took the Renaissance very seriously. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty multiculti, but most cities are, unfortunately. Like, I'm not saying we don't have a problem with immigration, but it's always being so over the top. Like, when they show England as well, like, they always show the Muslim neighborhoods and pretend as if that's, the entirety of England. That's just nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously it's an issue, but I mean,
Yeah.
France and England, at least for the time, are still, 90% British, French, native.
Mm.
Yep.
Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully, hopefully it doesn't shift too much in the near future. But yeah,
Yeah, I
just
hope
because
so
it's like, oh,
too.
this person's brown, and it's like, look, a brown person, this means China's winning. It's like that's literally it. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, I saw a
exactly.
tranny. Here's a picture of a tranny. Here's a picture of a brown person. China. This means China won or Russia won or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
all you
another thing that I noticed. A lot of right wingers glorify Kim Jong Un as well because he's like
Why?
because he's like an ultra nationalist, is what they say. Like, oh, look at this guy. He's like, he doesn't let any other country get involved with him. It's like almost like an autocracy, right? Like, I'm like, are you guys serious? Do you know how many people have tried in the past to escape North Korea? Now it's pretty much impossible,
Yeah,
but in
you
the
can't.
past it was when it was still somewhat doable. People tried, and they had to go through like China. If they get caught, China sends them back and they get executed. If they reach Mongolia, they get sent to South Korea and then they get instant citizenship.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting.
But yeah, apparently, yeah, it is actually pretty much impossible to travel over the border now for the North Koreans, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a really horrible place to grow up.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
What's up with
Although,
Korea?
to
What's
be
up?
fair, we hardly know anything about it, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a reason why people try to escape it. And, this guy, if he's so loyal, I mean, he owes everything he has to the Soviets, really. And that's why he's always so friendly when Putin, whoa, Freudian slip there. When Putin goes to North Korea, man, they have banners of his face everywhere. They really love this guy.
Yeah, yeah. It's like another deity to them or something. It's like
Yeah.
I've actually seen some vloggers go into North Korea, and yeah, it's like pretty. Yeah, again, it's like it's not very. Like I remember a guy went up to a stall where there was like some spring rolls, and but the vendor was only selling like two spring rolls, like out of the whole thing, and it's like it's just like yeah, it does kind of look spring rolls. Yeah, it was grim. It was grim. But but anyway, that's how they're doing it up there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so all of this, I mean, they'd obviously like to implement something like this on us if they could. Um,
Absolutely.
which I mean, this is yeah. Despite the veneer that Hinkle likes to present, I mean, it is. I mean, they did try it with the COVID pandemic thing. So
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one as well, by the way, because
mhm,
there, Dugan and Alex Jones were pretty instrumental in this whole Great Awakening thing.
mm, mm,
People started to see the New World Order and stuff, but what they really do is they blame it all on the West, even though everything is perfectly fine in the East, right? Even though Putin is the only world leader who is wearing a hazmat suit, complete
Yeah.
clown,
Yeah. I mean, they had
and
some of the worst COVID policies in Russia. Like,
oh, absolutely, and in China especially.
yes.
mm, mm,
But yeah, I mean, BRICS is heavily aligned with all these UN goals, and with the WHO being like the world, standard of health, of course, like the authority. They all want these globalist organizations to be, at the top of the world and actually dominate all these factions of our daily lives. And they just use like a Western New World Order as like a distraction for the New World Order they want to establish, which they claim is a multipolar world order. But what it really is a Soviet unipolar world order, right? the same thing what they accuse the West of, except they are in charge. That's what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, and they made
I
look.
mean, look at this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any Western leaders do this. This is crazy.
Mm.
It is, yeah.
Gotta protect that Putin. I guess he is quite old. Maybe that's why they freaking out
Yeah.
Right.
on him. Yeah, just in case.
Yeah. Well, we should get back to this cyber thing, by the way, because that's pretty important.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
there was here it is. Yeah, this was a very good presentation. I mean, he gave away so much information. Like he talked about the world's largest companies by market capitalization. In 2007, he has like this graph. Like 10 years ago, there were only 4 tech companies, and who were very much involved with Israel. And now in 2017, the top 10 is all Israeli dominated, or at least the most major research and development centers are now in Israel. And this is something that I always wonder, like, is Epstein involved in this or
Yeah.
was? Because people always focus on like Epstein, who is clearly, working with Mossad.
Yes.
People, I mean, it's just a joke if you still don't believe this. Kind of like what Jeremy confronted Dershowitz with, right? Like Robert Maxwell, who was the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, who worked with Epstein, and her father was a triple agent, including KGB and Mossad and MI6, I believe it was.
there you go. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what if they, once the truth came out about Epstein, everyone focused on Prince Andrew. Who cares about Prince Andrew?
Mm.
Like, what about the actual powerful people that they probably compromised that we haven't heard about, which could very well be, CEOs of big tech companies? It's very possible.
Mm.
But anyway, they have now like major research and development centers of Apple, Google, of course, which is owned by Sergey Brin, who said that Israel is going to be the next Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, by Mark Zuckerberg, of course, Tencent, Alibaba Group, even they're very involved with that too. J.P. Morgan, Chase, etc. And this guy, he can't stop bragging about, the Five Eyes. Israel is the second eye. And they also said, like, I have a few headlines here. Microsoft to open 5 new sites in Israel, double research and development workforce. Intel appoints 10 Israeli executives to senior global positions. US reprimands Microsoft for security failures that allow Chinese hack. I'm sure that's just a failure.
Mm.
Definitely not on purpose, of course. Israel grants Intel $3.2 billion for a $25 billion chip plant. Microsoft is Israeli almost as much as it is American, says Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer.
Mm.
Microsoft is a national security threat, says ex-White House cyber policy director. How
Okay.
Israel used weapons and technology to become an ally of China. Israel threatens to abandon America. Now, that is pretty reminiscent of what's happening today with the schism between America and Israel. And he said, ally with China and Russia after securing $40 billion deal in US aid. And here, The Week published an article says, why Russia should take over Israel's defense from America. Now, something that's really worrisome is there is this program that the Unit 8200 has, which is like the NSA of Israel. It's called Telpia. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
But it's a very extensive military program where a lot of talented Israeli kids, well, kids, teens, I guess. I don't know how old they are really, but
Mm.
they get trained to become like leaders of big tech companies. That's like the end goal of it. Now, well, this has been very effective so far. For example, the Pentagon Cloud went to Microsoft acquired Israeli cloud security company Edelon, which was founded by Asaf Rappaport, who is a Telpiot program graduate. So the Pentagon cloud is now in the hands of this guy and also of uh, Amazon also got a portion of it. Well, the Amazon cloud is managed by Dome9, which was acquired by Checkpoint, which is led by Marius Nacht, who is also a Telpiot graduate. Now, the other part of the contract went to Israeli-owned Oracle, and then another part went to Google, owned by Sergey Brin, like I said, who also wants Israel to become the next Silicon Valley. They have major research and development centers in Haifa and Tel Aviv with over 2,500 people. Now, a US congressman said as well, for example, it's disturbing that Intel may have told China about chip flaws before US. Well, considering that Intel is heavily in bed with Israel, it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. So they have these supposed chip flaws, but there was a very good speech at like a hackathon thing called DEFCON, and there was a speaker there, like one of these top cybersecurity guys, who said that these chips had been purposefully backdoor, hard coded backdoor, so that they can basically every machine that has that chip, they can just get in. And another graduate from Telpiot is Zohar Zisapel, who owned Rad Group, and they are really big. They are a solution provider for more than 100 telecom operators around the world, including AT&T, British Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, France Telecom, Japan Telecom, etc. So, they're really trying to take over the entirety of Western, especially US, again, infrastructure, so they can basically bring it down with a press of a button eventually. That's what it seems like to me.
Mm, mm, yeah, yeah. No, that is they're really going for broke, and yeah, trying to do everything they can to encapsulate the whole thing in their grasp. Yeah, that is that's a worry. That's a really big worry, and of course, delivering it us right into the hands of our enemy. So, yeah, no, that yeah, God, that,
I mean, the whole cybersecurity thing is like a mafia scheme, really. Like they have such, yeah, there it is. Yeah.
mm,
I mean, they have people, on their payroll that are really good at this stuff. They can
mhm,
easily hack into a company, to a very big one. Well, not easily, but I'm sure they can. And say like, hey, you guys, we can't prevent this from happening. Just use our cybersecurity software, and now we have access to your entire network. I mean, it's pretty nefarious, if you ask me.
yeah, 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 and we can see where their allegiance lies. It's it's not to America, let's say, or it's a
Yeah,
very
exactly.
one-way street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
mm,
why it's so bad.
yeah,
And it's something that is hardly ever discussed, but I think it's pretty important, especially when even the Pentagon cloud is now managed by a bunch of guys coming from this program that you see on the screen now.
mm, mm, yeah, in the Pentagon. Wow, wow, crazy. So everybody checks needs to check that out. I mean, yeah, I mean, we try to encourage our followers to become like Renaissance people who can, who are good with computers and who are good with all manner of, sophisticated things, can speak languages, can do all sorts. I mean, that's really what it's gonna take to clear up, a lot of this mess is people who are capable in this regard, just like they have themselves.
Yeah,
Um, but
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I mean yeah, this is a really messy situation. They can pretty much progress along this route with what I don't know who's gonna hinder them or who's gonna stop them, but yeah, maybe it'll be something else. I don't know, but yeah, yeah. So I mean, it does seem like this technology is sort of like the centerpiece of a lot of their domination. I mean, this is we've already established that their aims are well that are congruent with one another's, and that they're dealing very closely, and then that they're trying to establish this Belt and Road initiative, and then on top of this, they're going for this massive scale. I don't know what you'd call it, like cyber dominion at the same time. Um, so I, it's like what one. So, but they're basically making Israel like a not just a piece of the, I guess, the communist bloc, uh, but like a centerpiece, a technological centerpiece of this agreement between these nations, and it's like, yeah, how does America trust this? And yeah, I mean, the obvious thing is, what do you do? But yeah, look at this, the hidden ties between Google and Amazon's Project Nimbus and Israel's. There are so many things around this.
Yep.
It's just never
Yeah,
ending.
it just keeps going, and until someone stops it. I mean, here I just shared the short video here where there's like a bit of a summary. Maybe we could play it a little bit. So he said,
Sure.
like, cyber is the real domain of power, and I love how he gets this villain voice when he says it. Really hilarious.
Okay, let's if you want to pull that up, let's watch that.
Group, which is an
see
Israeli
that?
surveillance company.
We can see.
One,
Yep.
two, three,
Yeah, here we go.
4, 5,
Can we hear it though?
7
Can you not hear it?
information-based companies.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I cannot, but I.
Oh, I
hope
can. The
that,
viewers can.
Research
Okay,
Yeah,
that's-
that's,
that's
that's all we need. I know what it is.
Major research centers in Israel.
Yeah,
Our NSA,
don't know how to fix that. Sorry.
which is called Unit 800,
Just let it play.
it's pretty big. How big do you think it is? Well, I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
Israel is the sixth eye? No, Israel is the second eye. The United States is bigger than Israel.
There you go.
But it ain't that much bigger. Because the intersection of big data, connectivity, and artificial intelligence, and what it does in robotics and genetics and all the other fields, Louis, that you mentioned, everything, that is changing our world in rapid succession. And the future belongs to those who can seize this change. We are positioned right at the cusp of this change, right at the center of this change. We can take it, and we are. It's changing us. It's giving us powers and prowess that we never had before. And cyber is a real domain of power.
Yeah. Well, it's really something.
It's a new kind.
Like
Yeah.
the way he talks about it too, like he's so proud of it, and it's like the real domain of power, right? Like,
Yes.
man.
Yeah, no, it's clear where they want to go with that, and I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, amongst many Jews and Israelis, there is this sense that, and it's in their religion too, of course, and even if they're secular at that, there is the sense that everybody's out to get us, that they could flip a switch and they all want to put us into camps because of anti-Semitism is just like a mind virus. It just comes up every now and again, and I think this is there's still certainly that trauma that still exists within a lot of them. I don't know about the younger
Well,
generation of
yeah,
Jews.
no, I think it's the elders doing that to the younger, let's say, and
Right.
really trying to keep that tribalism alive. I mean,
Mm,
they're really, a lot of these Israelis, they're really being brainwashed by their own leaders, being used by their own leaders for their end. They really don't care about a bunch of Jewish homosexuals in Tel Aviv being blown up if they have to sacrifice them for, whatever their end goal is.
mm, mm, mm. Right. Yeah, well, who knows? Because I mean, gets kind of wacky at that point. But what with their religion and stuff. But if that is indeed the conclusion that they're trying to bring about, but yeah, no, that I mean they're happy to sacrifice that. They're perfectly happy to sacrifice their own allies, the U.S. it
Supposed
seems.
allies. Yeah.
Yes. Well, so I mean that's the thing. I mean, they keep saying that the Republicans, but apparently they're not actually officially allies. They're more friends of circumstance or of opportunity. When can't remember which administration, but the U.S. government agreed to send weapons their way. And I'm not sure what war that was, but that was the point at which U.S. and Israeli relations were solidified, I believe, if I have that correct. So it's and it kind of just continued on from there. But
Well, I
it,
think it's a great tragedy. I mean,
mm,
Israel betrays the U.S. at every turn. Like there is, of course, the USS Liberty and things like that that they have never answered for.
Yeah.
The US, like all these people like Pam Bondi and stuff, they are not. They're super pro Russia, super pro Israel,
yeah,
right? Like really. And Pam Bondi is a really interesting case because she closed Klepto Capture, which was actually this kleptocracy name, sort of like a play on name, where they actually started that at the beginning of the Ukraine war to go after a lot of the assets of these oligarchs. Well,
Yes.
she closed it. And for example, Roman Abramovich popped up here as well because they seized a Boeing and a Gulfstream plane from him worth more than 400 million.
Oh my god.
And also, they also seized Vexelberg's, also a Russian Israeli, just like Roman Abramovich, 255-foot luxury yacht, and which was valued at like 90 to 120 million dollars. And she's also close to, also the Foreign Influence Task Force. She closed that as well. So the Tim Pools of the world are now, they can just basically get away with anything, it seems.
Holy shit.
And she's also on a photo with Lev Parnas. And of course, Elon Musk reacted like, oh, Pam Bondi is awesome.
Yeah.
But Lev Parnas is actually close with Dmitry Firtash, who was highly influential in the Yanukovych administration. He was a middleman for the Russian natural gas giant Gazprom. And with connections to the Kremlin, Firtash funneled money into the campaigns of pro-Russian politicians in Ukraine. He obtained his position with the agreement of Russian President Putin, and according to Firtash, Russian organized crime boss Mogilevich. Now, Mogilevich is also an interesting one because the father of, for example, Felix Sater was working with him. Now, Felix Sater worked for the Trump organization, and he helped him build the Soho project, for example.
So okay. Wow. That's a big truth bomb.
Yeah, here, Russian-American mobster, convicted felon, real estate developer, and former managing director of Bayrock Group. In 1998, Sater pleaded guilty to his involvement in a 40 million stock fraud scheme orchestrated by the Russian mob, as well. And he was a senior advisor to Donald Trump and the Trump organization when construction of the Trump Soho began in 2006. His father worked for Mogilevich, yeah, and he was Chabad Man of the Year in 2010 and 2014. So Chabad named him Man of the Year, a Russian mobster.
Wow.
Oh, that is so crazy. That is so insane. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I mean, who even needs Trump to be identified as Krasnov when I mean you have all these connections around him, really.
Oh yeah, his the people surrounding him, like Kash Patel as well. Like why do you do this? Like even like Russian state TV always calls him like our boy, and he was on Stu Peters multiple times, 8 times actually. And Stu Peters is one of these clownish, anti-Semite figures.
Yeah.
Who loves Russia, and he had Dugin on.
Oh,
Couldn't
did he
stop
have
kissing
Dugan
his
on? Oh,
ass.
come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, Mr. Dugan, I can't wait to meet you in Moscow to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. That's just it's all these mediocrities. Just it's hard to tell. It's like they don't seem like the smartest people. You're right. They just kind of parrot off the anti-Semitism bandwagon, and then there's like a lot of, I don't know, like 14-year-olds who kind of graft onto that and go, yeah, yeah. All right, that's what I imagine. And then yeah,
Yeah.
these like Russian talking points that gets people really excited, titillated. But
I mean, Candace Owens was named Anti-Semite of the Year. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I had to look it up to
So
find out if it was real.
Candace Owens always says like, "Oh, basically everyone in history that did anything bad was Jewish, right?" I mean, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She's crazy.
World rejecting U.S. hegemony. He really loves that talking point, doesn't he, Dugan? Hegemony, Western hegemony.
I don't really think it is, though. I don't know what. Maybe in Dugan's fantasy land. I mean, well, he wants that to happen, obviously.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I don't know if that's really the case, but yeah. So yeah, geez.
Yeah, we can talk more about Kash Patel because this guy is really a figure. He was also on the Tenet Media channels multiple times, and we know what happened to them. He was on the Mel K show at least 4 times, you know, the QAnon promoter.
Yes, I do know her. Yeah,
Who
he's
is like
a kook. Yeah.
Oh, she is insane. And they always talk about how Putin is on their side and is saving Israel for last. And this whole QAnon
Trust the
thing
plan. Yeah,
is
trust the plan, mate.
trust the plan. Yeah, it's Operation Trust 2.0, and it's very effective. Although luckily it has died down by now, but man, and it does show. There's clearly at least Russians behind, or some Kremlin involvement in the QAnon thing, which shows that they did want Trump to win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, well, I
Jackson
mean,
Inc. also, yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, it's certainly paying out for them. I mean, this is like Trump is presenting an opportunity for them. But no, you go.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Inc. also promoted Kash Patel multiple times. Roger Stone endorsed him. Now, Roger Stone was arrested during the Mueller investigation for tampering with evidence and lying in court. And he also starred in a documentary by Russian filmmaker Igor Lopatonok that he also is on the photo with, and allegedly he got $25,000 or something for his appearance. And that guy also directed Ukraine on Fire, by the way, about Maidan, together with Oliver Stone, which goes into how they blamed the Maidan revolution on the CIA, basically.
Oh, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, they also made a documentary revealing Ukraine, which features interviews with Putin. Now, Dugan also promotes Kash Patel a lot, saying he was going to defeat the deep state and stuff like that. And Kash Patel also appeared on a Defeat the Deep State panel at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas in July 24, alongside with Angela McCarty, who is a Libertarian Party. Oh man, the Libertarians. Organizer of the pro-Russian Rage Against the War Machine rally. Well, who was there as well? Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
Like, it just never ends, does it? And Tulsi Gabbard is actually friends with Jackson Hinkle. Surfing buddies even went to protest together. On Russian state TV, they always say like our girlfriend Tulsi. Like she is, she is also friends with Jeffrey Sachs, who we talked about earlier, who always lies about Syria as well, about Assad, which she does as well. Like that it was all based on lies, right? I hear a lot of people say this as well. They quote like Zero Hedge, who published an article about how there's no evidence that Assad gassed his own people, but they're talking about what's it called again? Syrian gas?
Sarin gas, yeah.
Sarin gas?
Sarin-tipped missiles, yeah.
Like, okay, so he didn't use that, but he did use chlorine gas, so that's still a war crime,
Yeah, it wasn't the right type of gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stupid.
But
Yeah,
Zero
yeah.
Hedge is, I believe his father was part of like the Bulgarian Communist Party or something like that, or at least worked for that
Oh,
their
probably.
media or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's right. Yeah, there's like deep, Romanian connections with his father. It's like,
Bulgarian, yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Bulgarian, right? Yeah, that's yeah. Eyes of the Republic did really good work exposing that with these visual schematics. Trying to find it, but yeah. But anyway, that's yeah.
I
The
mean, it
yeah.
goes on really with
Mm,
Tulsi Gabbard, like the Rage Against the War Machine. For
mm,
example, Ron Paul was there. Well, the guy who owns the Ron, or the director, I believe, of the Ron Paul Foundation is Daniel McAdams,
yes. Yes.
who was like the founder of dailyputin.wordpress.org or something.
Really?
Couldn't
I
even get a
didn't
proper
know that.
domain. Oh no.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard he like I saw him like doing whiskey shots with like Cuban communist officials, and then he's all up in the sort of libertarian thing of like, oh, we can't fight any wars, but let's justify every war that Russia provokes and
Yeah.
starts, but any war the US does is bad. Yeah, just so hypocritical. And then he's off in communist Cuba, um yeah, just chumming it up with really our historic enemies. So yeah, yeah, pretty tricky. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard was she's weird. She's like a part of the Hare Krishna group. She's like a
Yes.
Hindu, and she's trained as a psych warfare officer. That's curious. I wonder what she would be using those that for. So, yeah, she's a very, very curious case, and she's right in line with RFK and these kinds of like
Oh
people.
yeah, the
Essentially,
biolabs. She always
yeah,
talks about that too, just like RFK did on Tucker
The
Carlson. Yeah.
biolabs. Okay.
yeah. Where are all these biolabs people like that? They always they just need to say it, and people like guppies will just like flock to it like a piece
I
of
mean,
bread
does
butter.
China not have biolabs? Are
Yeah,
we going to talk about that?
I'm pretty sure everybody like has biolabs.
Yes, it's a very common thing.
Yeah, but
What,
and
this
it's
But
like
country
it's a
of 50
problem when
million people
Ukraine
has a
has it.
biolab? How could this happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's awfully strange, and they were saying like, oh, they want to use it to destroy the Russian genome or something
Yeah, okay.
through spreading some sort of virus, and it's like, well, we kind of just went through something like that, but with China, and manufacturing something through, of course, a virus and these vaccines. So, I mean, yeah, and that, but they're trying to pin it on Ukraine. So it's and the U.S. as well. It's U.S. funded biolabs, and yet where's the evidence? They just make all these claims and don't substantiate anything. So
As always, yeah.
as all, yeah, that's kind of how you know it's Russian propaganda.
I mean,
Actually,
that's the case with all these people who are at these Rage Against the War Machine things. Like Medea Benjamin was there.
mm,
She is like the co-founder of Co-Pink, who actually promote like LGBTQ stuff in the West.
yeah,
She's on
Yeah.
RT all the time.
mm,
So she promotes it in the West, but it's not they're not going to promote it in Russia, of course. Something interesting about her, by the way. She was at a conference that Dugan organized. So was David Duke.
ah, really,
Yeah.
that's
And
funny.
David Duke is also interesting because I've done like 3 clips on him, I think by now. But he is like, oh yeah, basically I'm like the leading anti-Semite in the US, right? But there are a few Jews that I like. One of them is Jill Stein, who is good for white people. That's why he endorsed her for president. Jill Stein, if
Jill
you look her
Stein.
up, the first thing you see is her being in Moscow, right?
Right.
And if you look at her, is she good for white Americans? I mean, she has like a Black Liberation Party and stuff. Like, are you serious?
It's just bizarre. Was it just like the ultimate contrarianism for David Duke to support Jill Stein of all people? That's just crazy.
Yeah, and he also likes Jeffrey Sachs again, who we talked about twice already now, who is
Yeah.
also super pro-Russia, anti-Ukraine, right?
Yeah, yeah, that guy's so annoying. Yeah, just everything is the US's fault, and Russia's a innocent little baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no agency. It's sort of funny how
Mm.
you get all the the pro-Russian serials. It's like nothing. Like Russia is just a country of no agency. It just seems like everything's caused by the West. Russia doesn't have a choice. They're just going along. They don't have they got no say in any of this. Just is. They just had to do it because the West made them do it.
It's actually freaky how poor the level of discourse is. It's so primitive, and that you really can't
Yeah.
trust too many people. Like it's just shills everywhere. Basically, there's just shills on the left, on the right.
Well, I think
it-
honestly, a lot of people are just cowards too. They don't want to go against the grain.
yeah, yeah.
And once the grain is established, let's say by like I said, like the status quo, oh, there she is. Jill Stein, good for white people, those of European descent, is what David Duke said.
I wonder how he figures that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wonder what
right,
the reasoning
yeah.
is there. I don't understand
Well, the
that.
reasoning
Because
is she
Oh yeah.
she has ties to the Kremlin, and he's a Dugin fanboy, so I guess that's all it takes.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so.
yeah, he actually Nyquist offered to debate Dugan, but Dugan offered to debate David Duke.
Oh, that would
And
be amazing.
that would be, yeah. He would get slaughtered though, so David Duke chickened out. So
Yeah,
Nyquist is
David
still
Duke
waiting.
always talks about how Israel doesn't have any influence, or Jewish power doesn't exist in Russia because of Berezovsky, for example, who clearly didn't get kicked out because he was Jewish, but because he went against Putin. That's why.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's what it with those Jewish oligarchs. That's what happens is that's what happens with any oligarch is they go against Putin. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not. I mean, do you think Putin cares about that? I don't
no,
think so.
yeah. He's many people see him as what's good for Israel anyway. So, but
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, also in this Rage Against the War Machine, there was also Scott Horton, for example, who got absolutely demolished by Ukrainian Anna on live TV, which was absolutely glorious to see.
oh, I
Because
didn't see that.
she
Yeah,
is Ukrainian. And, he is like, oh, it's all because of NATO
It's
expansion.
all because of NATO. Everything's NATO's
yeah.
fault.
Is that
Yeah.
Anna from Ukraine?
Yeah, her name is Anastasia something.
Oh, okay.
And
I was thinking of Anna Danilchuk, but okay, Anastasia. Okay.
yeah,
Alright.
she had a debate with him on live television. And this guy wrote a book about how, it's all NATO's fault, basically, just the West fault in general, that there's no war in Ukraine. But she was like, obviously she wiped the floor with him. It was very good to see. But all these lies that they promote are so easily debunkable, especially for the Ukrainian who was there herself, who is also Russian speaking. So you cannot come with this argument that Ukraine was genociding
I
the
mean,
Russian speaking
Zelensky
population
is
in
like
Ukraine.
Russian speaking. I always thought that's sort of weird. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite. That when Putin started the invasion, and started just killing Ukrainian civilians, a lot of former Russian speakers said, "You know what? So despise this regime. I don't even want to talk Russian anymore, and I'm going to talk Ukrainian only, and I'm going to teach my kids to talk Ukrainian." So it's actually kind of like a lot of people who did speak Russian were actually so disgusted by what happened. Yeah, they, so
Yeah.
it's yeah.
And NATO wouldn't even be expanding, even though, countries want to join. By the way, it's not like
Yeah.
NATO is taking over these countries. If Russia would just behave itself and stay in, mind their own business, NATO would not even be expanding. And the whole NATO expansion is complete trash when you realize, like, hey, when Finland joined NATO,
Yeah,
they
definitely.
reduced 80% of their troops near the Finland border. Clearly, they were not really that upset with Finland joining NATO. So, but then they just go to the next lie, right? Oh, it's the EU, and again, it's Newland. Like they always just jump to another justification for all of this, even though it's very clear they just want Ukraine. It's really that simple, and it's not going to stop at Ukraine. They want the entirety of Europe. They want Eurasia, and they want Georgia too, of course. I mean, why do you think they keep bullying Georgia into submission, and now Georgia wants to be an ally of the West too? Like that's pretty understandable if you
No,
ask
it's the
me.
West's fault that all of Russia's neighbors, despise Russian influence. It's the West's fault for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wouldn't be to do with anything with like the god awful living conditions in
Yeah,
Russia
corruption
any
or anything like that. Nothing to do with that.
yeah, fair
Yeah.
intimidation. Yeah, that's
I mean, they remember what the Soviets did to them. They don't want that to happen again. It's pretty simple.
yeah, yeah. Just so crazy, man. So crazy. And I mean, hopefully this does get out eventually. I think slowly people are waking up, but it's just
Well,
not quite fast enough for me to feel comfortable
yeah, I
about
mean, you're starting to see some of the talking points that, like, oh, Russia is going to save the white race, like all sort of stuff like that, sort of disappeared because it's becoming obvious that Russia's just another, a multicultural empire that's
it.
basically worse than anything the West has. I mean, it's like a million times the multiculturalism in Russia is way worse than anything in the States or the UK or France or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and there's a photo there of a dinner party with Jill Stein, Putin, and Mike Flynn.
Wow. Oh yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
every QAnon's favorite person.
He was like
Yeah, right there. There he is.
yeah,
Yeah.
Interesting.
it's like
I mean, all
general
these things, all these connections, they just never end. I mean, we've been talking for 2.5 hours now. And we can talk for many more because it's just crazy, just like we talked a little bit about Orban earlier, for example.
Yeah, we didn't even really touch on that.
Well, it's really funny because Orban, the man who got him elected, who helped him rise to power, was Arthur Finkelstein, or at least his protege, George Birnbaum, who actually admitted that George Soros, we talked about that a bit earlier on, was a good target for Orban's campaign because enough people in Hungary didn't like the idea of this billionaire behind the curtain, almost like the Wizard of Oz controlling politics and policy. Now, a lot of people like Elon Musk is now named like sort of like his counter, the counter of George Soros or something. And Alex Jones promotes this narrative, and Alexander Dugin, of course. I mean, Dugin actually said here, USA is the antechamber of globalist lodge, the core of deep state. There is the entrance to the room where the main monster of the swamp dwell. I suggest a triple alliance against globalism. MEGA, which is Make Europe Great Again, which is something that a lot of these AFD promoters also promoted.
Yep.
And Make Russia Great Again, Russian Empire Eurasia. All three universums share some common points and have at the same time some differences, but there is common enemy. Left liberal globalists, woke, swamp, George Soros.
Like swamp.
Here, Elon Musk is the anti-Soros. It's 100% correct that the Soros crime syndicate is in full collapse, says Alex Jones. But I mean,
Okay.
Soros, it's really interesting because Soros is actually destabilizing the West, which benefits Russia. And they both, Soros and Russia support many of the same leftist groups like Antifa, BLM, LGBTQ, like with Code Pink, for example, even environmental groups. Like there's a lot of anti-fracking campaigns in Europe being done by, Russia as well. Like for example, RT, used to have a lot of anti-fracking campaigns running in the West to try to, get people to
Yeah.
row up against fracking to make them more dependent on Russian gas.
Mm.
And there's also in a 2017 book called the George Soros Files, it says he was allowed to set up his open society institutions in communist Hungary in 84 and later in the Soviet Union in 87. Such ventures were only possible for communists or communist agents and not for an American businessman like Soros. Like Soros is really, I always call him like the Soviet scapegoat. Like,
Mm.
yes, Soros is an enemy of the West, but he's not
Yes.
behind everything, right?
Mm.
And clearly they just use him as some kind of scapegoat so that, hey, George Soros is ruining the West. We are anti Soros, therefore you can support us, even though Soros seems to be working on the same side as these guys do.
Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Interesting. Interesting. Mm.
Yeah, but it's interesting, yeah, that like the obvious like the obvious anti-Western stuff, like the anti-fracking, which obviously, yeah, makes the West more dependent on Eastern oil and energy. It's interesting that somehow Russia always seems to have all these anti-Western groups always seem to have some sort of like Russian influence in it.
Yeah. Has
Yes,
some sort of
and
answer for the West. Yeah.
yeah, I really recommend watching. There's we talked about Johnny Gat before.
Mhm.
He
Yes.
sometimes goes by vigilante intelligence as well, but he has a video on this where he goes pretty deep into, all these Russian environmentalist campaigns in the West. Also in Canada, they're doing the same thing, and it seems to be very effective.
Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm pretty sure I've seen that one. Yeah. But the thing is, it's so ridiculous calling Musk anti uh, antithesis to Soros because I mean, of course, Musk is going about the destruction of the West in just a different way. So it's I mean, Musk like pivots from oh we're getting all these Pajitsin to oh Europe needs to do something about their like Pakistani grooming gangs, and that's actually a common line is and people fall for that though, but they're always constantly blaming Europe for being like woke and communist, when it's actually the real communists are the Russian Chinese communist bloc that are advancing these goals and advancing these operations in Europe. So it's like a sort of self-fulfilling system that they're
Yeah,
hoping to install in both
yeah, it's
the
interesting
sides.
that. Oh yeah, sorry, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. You go, you go.
Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of these people that are always getting blamed, like Victoria Nuland and Keir Starmer, for example, Keir Starmer, sorry,
Mm,
they actually have some, very strange ties to, the Soviet history themselves.
yeah.
Like Victoria Nuland is a huge Russophile, by the way. Like she is, there's like a 2-hour podcast with her somewhere where she
Mm,
cannot stop talking about she's a fan of Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, which is all fair enough.
mhm,
Like I like a lot of Russian composers and philosophers and writers and stuff as well. Get it, but
mhm.
she's a very a very interesting figure, just like Keir Starmer, who showed up in Czechoslovakian spy files, right? And they,
Yeah.
when Ukraine started to get the the go on their long range weapons, which Russia said was a red line. Right? They always have their
Yeah.
idiotic red lines. Even though they do everything that they say is a red line, they can get away with it, but you're not allowed to do it if you fight back. Even we have reasons to escalate, etc. But
Mm.
yeah, there it is. Yep, Czechoslovakian war camp.
What did he took a holiday there, like on a
Yeah,
motorcycle, and it's like,
yeah, but he was the first one to agree to Ukraine using those weapons, right? And then everyone was blaming him and kind of like giving Russia the pretext to escalate.
Mm, mm. Right, right, right. Do you think that's what it was? He was um
Well, I
trying.
don't know. And
Yeah.
there's, I know you've mentioned him before, One Tall Order. He actually has this post on Newland as well. Russian speaking Newland was in a Soviet Odessa camp called Young Guard. Deputy Secretary of State Strope Talbot, who was seen as a Russian asset by the State Department, was for pro-Russian regime and tried to stop Maidan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's sort of like what people say about the CIA. Like, oh, it's a CIA work, Maidan. But it's like, well, actually, they sort of wanted to keep the Russian
Yeah,
government
they
intact.
really did not like
Yeah.
the methods that the Ukrainian people were using, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, mm, mm. That's one of the things, isn't it? Yeah, they desperately wanted Yanukovych out of power, and yeah, the Ukrainian government across the board responded, and I think the party that Yanukovych was in, that they like disbanded or something. So um, yeah, fact
Yeah,
check.
good on them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But talking about that, maybe we should talk about the South African uh, situation and talk about some intel on that. Do you guys want to go to that, or should we save that for another time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Okay. Cool. So
There
yeah.
again, we can see
Mm,
Putin's real nature. So that's a good thing to go get into, I would say.
yeah, because he's very active in Africa, but of
Oh, yeah.
course, one of the success stories for him has been South Africa, which has only gotten worse since
Part
they.
of BRICS.
Yeah, right, part of BRICS as well. So that's their trade route that they're trying to establish in direct opposition to the dollar. And yeah, I mean, the thing that kind of strikes out to me most is, again, they're playing like with what they did with Musk, diverting to Europe and saying, "Oh, Britain needs to sort these grooming gangs out." Um, they're getting, the Trump admin to kind of again portray themselves as pro-white, I guess, by saying, let's accept these refugees into America, um, which is I can understand why they would want to go to America, because it's pretty freaky what's happening. But
I'm glad they did, though. Oh, man,
yeah,
this guy again, the Burkina Faso,
ha,
who is a hero, according to Jackson Hinkle.
Even though he pretty much hasn't done anything.
No,
yeah,
not really. It was all Wagner Group who did everything, but
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, brutalizing the local populaces. But yeah, but I think is it really, again, is this really like a genuine cause for concern for these people from the Trump admin, or are they being positioned a certain way? Because recently, um, with the rising violence, economic dysfunction, on the verge of collapse, is it really based on concern for these people? Because recently, the South African government seemed to really irk the Israelis by challenging them about Gaza, and yeah, it seems that this would be sort of the main thrust, to me, given everything that's happened, is that it's more, Israel again using the United States government, or specifically the Trump admin, to sort of posture a certain way, and to yeah, to sort of punish the South African government, which, it's like people like to say, all kinds of things, but you know, there's a measure of control that uh, operations have, so it might seem contradictory, but because obviously there is strong KGB influence and stuff there, but you know, they it's not like Israel has like maybe total or complete control everywhere. That's not exactly what we're saying, uh, or not what I'm saying. It's checks and balances. It depends at the time how many people they have, and yeah, it's I guess I should just say, but what do you guys think about this crisis and the sudden turn of events, which has led to this happening here?
Well, I don't know what the agenda is exactly, but I'm all for it.
Mm,
I think I quite always advocated for, I am from the Netherlands, and a lot of South Africans are actually, come from the Dutch.
Yeah.
mm,
So I was all for the Netherlands taking in a lot of these Afrikaners, these Boers, right? And well, yeah, what behind it, I don't know. Maybe they really are concerned about them. Like I said, I'm all for it. I
mm,
think it's quite something that they're all actual families, right? Normally, when a lot of migrants come in, they're just a bunch of young men of like age
Yeah,
20 to 30, perfect fighting age, basically, right?
yeah,
yeah.
So,
all these migrants, or refugees from the Middle East and Africa somehow are all just, men in their 20s. That's crazy.
yeah,
They're
exactly.
children.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, but a lot of people are upset about it. That's typical of all these lefties. When they take in tons of migrants from Mexico or whatever, it's
Yeah.
okay. But if they're Afrikaners, no, no,
Mm,
they can't do that. They're a bunch of apartheid racists, right?
yeah. Yeah. It really exposed them the left, the left's very strong anti-white underpinnings, and that they're just colonialists without actually knowing anything about how the country was established and what actually happened there. So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I've
if
said
we
this. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just so the leftists being, pissed off that like white people are entering the United States, that just sort of just underpins that a lot of like leftism's like main core tenet is just anti-whiteism, and it's sort of been like that for decades at this point.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, it's really bizarre to me how so many of our people are so ashamed of their past. And I tend to not really go into this whole culture war stuff because to me it's like so obvious that it's very normal to want to be around people that look like you, that speak the same language as you, that have the same manners, and basically just culture as you. I mean, it's clear that that's what makes a prosperous, well functioning society. I mean, the fact that we even need to discuss this is really, really beyond crazy, if you ask me.
Mm, mm, yeah. Totally. But yeah, that's the extent to which people's minds have been reprogrammed. Um,
Yeah.
that's yeah. I mean
And that you have no culture and stuff. I'm like, have you ever been to Europe? I mean, American culture is European. American history is part of European history. Like we
oh,
are,
absolutely. Mm,
everything in the US is really built by Europeans. Europe has tons of beautiful languages, amazing innovators, artists,
mm,
painters, sculptors. I mean, architects,
mm,
composers. It's amazing.
mm.
How can you just just not be proud of coming from these people? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why?
Yeah.
Because of slavery? I mean, come on. Everyone was involved in slavery. Just get over it.
Yeah, of
That's just
course.
how it was. Yeah.
Mm, mm. Yeah.
We've been slaves, right? The Europeans have been slaves. Arabs were massive slave traders. Africans themselves were. Just let it go already.
Yeah. Just move on. Yeah. But that's how people's minds are oriented. They're not. It's like that's the whole thing with Marxism. It's not. It doesn't veer you toward appreciating the beauty and life and trying to um I guess live up to good things and high standards and excellence. It's constantly, this is bad. We need to, divide everything and it's all evil. It's
Yeah,
sort of, yeah.
excellence is evil. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's what they constantly have to put on people's minds to divide them apart and to create groups to fight off against each other. And then once that group or institution or country once it's weak, then they can just basic divide and conquer, right? Um, so that is and that seems to be what they've achieved in South Africa, as we're seeing. I mean, with a lot of these, communist blacks and I guess communists in general. I mean, that's a lot of people who are leaving, and that is one country that seems to be definitely following it's a Marxist revolution, rather than what it was originally established to be. So yeah, I believe was it Nelson Mandela had some KGB and Mossad connections himself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you like to go into some of that, or?
Yeah, sure. First of all, about whether the U.S. cares about the Afrikaners or not, I don't know. I hope
Mm,
so.
mm,
I mean, if we look at what the dark motive could be, it could be so that they can get even easier control over the entirety of South Africa when all the white boos are, have left. So
right.
that would be that would be like the dark motive behind it. I'm honestly not sure. I hope
Mm,
they have a legitimate heart for these people, and that these people are gonna excel in the U.S. But going to Mandela, he's actually still being celebrated by Putin himself.
mm,
So there's an article by Russia Beyond, Mandela and the Soviet Union, the struggle against apartheid. That's a great title already. Mandela maintained a soft spot for Russia even after the collapse of the Eastern Bloc. In 1990, the same year he was released from prison, the Soviet Union awarded Mandela the Lenin International Peace Prize. So Mandela, on a state visit to Moscow in 1999, he was awarded 2 honorary doctorates from the Russian Academy of Sciences. During the state visit, Mandela expressed gratitude for the solidarity of the Russian people in the South African fight against apartheid. And yeah, from the 60s to the 90s, the Soviet Union trained thousands of cadres of MK, the armed wing of the ANC, to fight against the racist regime. Right? So, here, during that visit, Mandela and then President Boris Yeltsin, yep, there it is,
mm, mm, mm,
they signed a declaration pledging to boost political ties and economic relations in areas such as gold and diamond production. Now, this is something they're doing all over Africa now, or at least they're trying to expand it quite a bit.
mm,
So, since that time, the countries have stepped up bilateral and multilateral cooperation. Moscow was the strongest advocate for South Africa to be included in the grouping of the world's most dynamic emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, and China.
mm,
By
mm.
the way, the BRICS acronym comes from Goldman Sachs, just to show you that a lot of these
Ah.
Western banks are actually really working against the interests of the West as well.
Mm,
Now, another thing is that Nelson Mandela underwent weapons training by Mossad agents in Ethiopia in '62.
mm,
And it said he greeted our men with shalom, was familiar with the problems of Jewry and of Israel, and gave the impression of being an intellectual. The staff tried to make him into a Zionist. In conversations with him, he expressed socialist worldviews and at times created the impression that he leaned toward communism. You don't say.
mm.
So they have this song, right? The ANC, where they sing like "kill the boer," etc., right, as they always do.
Mm.
Then they also talk about, Joe Slovo, our father. Well, Joe Slovo was an anti-apartheid Stalinist from Lithuania, actually, who
Mm.
was always side by side with Mandela. And even today, you have all these Soviet propagandists saying that Julius Malema is a hero, just like Jackson Hinkle does, just like George Galloway. He's really a key figure in this as well. And
Mm.
he also talks about how all the help that South Africa has gotten against, the Western colonialists came from Russia and China. And now Xi Jinping is like promising 50 billion in financing and millions of new jobs for Africa in China's biggest summit since COVID.
Hmm.
I mean, these are all like major predatory loans, right?
Mm.
They've given so many loans to African countries now that they will never be able to pay back.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
if we're
Pakistan,
looking,
all sort of stuff like that. All these loans.
Even Western businesses found themselves in a pickle when they accepted those loans, I believe, from China.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's another thing Maloney did, by the way. The previous prime minister Conte, I believe his name was, he
Yes.
signed a deal with, he signed off Italy to Beijing basically by signing papers for joining the Belt and Road Initiative. Maloney said that was a serious mistake, quote unquote, and she canceled it. So
Oh,
pretty
nice.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
good on her. Wow. Wow. Mm.
But yeah, I mean, especially since 2018, the Wagner Group has been very active in Africa. Like they started I believe, in Central African Republic, which is really the hub for Russian influence, right? And they claim
Yes.
they provide security for their government. Well, what that really means is they have someone in charge that is in line with Russian goals, so they protect the government from any Western influence, right? That's what they're trying to do.
Mm.
In Mali, in 2020 and 21, there were coups d'etats, also where Wagner Group has also been active there, and now it's heavily aligned with Russia. And they actually have an alliance of the Sahel state with Burkina Faso and Niger. Well, Burkina Faso, we just showed that guy, right?
Mm.
The Ibrahim Traore, I believe his name is.
Mm.
They had coup d'etats in 2022, basically, trying to get rid of all the French and US influence there. And in Niger, there was in 23 a coup d'etat, and now they also expelled French and US forces, turned to Russia for security support, including Wagner Group. And Eritrea, Zimbabwe, Algeria also have arms deals with Russia, consistently vote against UN resolutions condemning Russia, right? So they're really trying to get their hands on the entire continent.
Mm.
And I think they're doing it pretty successfully.
Mm.
And yeah, the French and the Americans are being kicked out everywhere. And really, if you're an African listening to this, which is very unlikely, but if you are, if you really think Western influence in your continent was bad, it's gonna get a whole lot worse.
Yeah, that's the hard truth. Like you
Yeah,
have a lot of them waving these Russian flags and stuff, but it's like, man, they just completely brutalize and yeah, it's basically they enslave the populace. So they
absolutely. Yep.
yeah, it's
China does it financially, and Russia does it militarily.
yeah, they don't care. But all they need to say to these people is like, oh, we're your liberators. We're here
I
to.
mean, look at this map.
I'll see if I can bring that up a bit bigger.
That is really something, huh?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and they've essentially secured it through
There you go.
economic
I mean,
ties and
same
yeah.
in Libya. I mean, they're using that as like a transport hub for all these migrants that they get to Russia and then send into Europe. And again, if you don't believe this, you can easily see Lukashenko doing this exact thing, constantly sending people over the border into Poland. And are you going to deny that that's happening too? I mean, clearly, Russians are heavily involved in the migration crisis in Europe. And all these pro-European anti-immigration people who don't call this out are not your friend. Like, there's nothing worse than someone claiming to be your friend while they're secretly your enemy. What
Yeah.
horrible, really horrible people.
Yeah. Very, very sinister. And yeah, that this has been they've been doing this for decades. This kind of thing, and it's only like now that people are beginning to notice it while they're at their geopolitical zenith. I would say, where I mean, you just have to look at that. Russia's security cooperation in Africa. It's like that in much of South America as well, especially with the
Oh
Chinese.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
and then
Especially with Venezuela, which Jeffrey
Mhm.
Sachs also was an apologist for. He just blamed the Venezuelan, insane inflation on the West.
Yeah, everything's
Right?
the West's fault.
It's
Yeah.
always the West's fault, man.
I think what's keeping the U.S. and Europe from kind of looking like a Africa or a South America in this similar way is the fact that we have still in our consciousness a tradition of freedom and sticking up for that. Because
Yeah.
in the most kind of brazen form that I guess you could say China tried to employ against Western nations by having the lockdowns. There are a lot of people who did rise up against that and didn't just accept that. But oh, we can see a link by Jeff. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's that's staggering. That's really staggering. And yeah, the West doesn't really seem to have much of a response.
Yeah, exactly. It reminded me of this, something that, I looked into this before. And again, Jeffrey Sachs is always promoted by Elon Musk. And, he says US sanctions have devastated Venezuela and killed over 40,000 since 2017. Well, I mean, look at this. Venezuela's economy was highly dependent on oil exports. During the oil boom, the government ran large fiscal deficits instead of saving for future downturns.
Yeah.
Oil prices plummeted in 2014, and Venezuela was unprepared due to lack of savings and high debt. So, as oil revenues declined, imports fell by almost 81%, causing severe shortages. To finance widening deficits, the government resorted to printing money, leading to hyperinflation. It's really not that complicated.
Yeah,
But
well,
of
that was the
course,
West's
Jeffrey
fault, though.
Sachs,
It's the West did it for some
yeah,
reason, somehow.
yep,
The West made the Venezuela not save any of its oil revenue and invested into other sectors that weren't as volatile. The West made them do that.
yeah. Well, that's why I said at the end. But hey, anything to demonize the West, right? I mean, it always is,
Well, that's
especially the
typical.
U.S.
Typical communist tactic. Just blame your opponent for whatever you're doing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just put the blame all on them, and just be on the attack constantly. And it sounds silly, it sounds stupid, but that's how they're able to get in an edge, edgewise with this sort of thing. But yeah, Jeffrey Sachs, yeah, this guy's a very dubious person. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of the two Jews that David Duke likes. So,
Oh, yeah, that's right. There you go. There you go.
They
Yeah.
just have to happen to both be like these pro-Russia, anti-Western Jews, and that's why David likes
yeah,
them for
just
some
a
reason.
coincidence.
Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
coincidentally.
yeah, just a coincidence. Oh, jeez, yeah. But who knows? Maybe we'll see them at a meeting together with Bill Stein and Abbas or something. Yeah, in
I think he
Moscow.
would quite enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. He'd like that. Yeah, but yeah. So, GG Venezuelans, I guess. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is really the extent of these
Yeah,
things, and yeah. Go ahead.
it is. Yeah,
Mm.
but it's just interesting to me as well how Elon Musk promotes this. I mean, I don't know if you know, but May Musk, his mother, was also in Moscow recently and in China, right? And she's always talking super positively about it. Elon Musk does as well. He never says anything bad about China. He's a big fan of China. And he always promotes everything that demonizes Zelensky, never a word on Putin.
Mm.
And Errol Musk, his father, was also interviewed by Jackson Hinkle. He also has this David Sachs guy who's like his PayPal buddy. And David Sachs also says, like, oh, Russia is not our enemy, guys, right? And the acquisition of Axe was actually in cooperation with a company called 8VC, which employs the sons of Vadim Moskovich and Peter Avin, who are like big Russian oligarchs as well. And yeah, I mean, if you look at all the rhetoric that Elon Musk promotes, every time it's guys like Jeffrey Sachs, it's all these Western demoralization accounts. It's lies about Ukraine. And the worst thing about all this is not only that he is extremely influential, but Ukraine is also highly dependent on Starlink, and I think that's pretty worrisome.
Yeah, yeah. No, they need to get that sorted out. I hope they have some sort of replacement in place now. Um, yeah, but yeah, they need some sort of satellite imaging to help them see what's going on the ground. But yeah, how we could just turn it off like that is, and then of course what ensued from that was a lot of death, a lot of destruction, and I would guess a setback. So quite a setback, and yeah, that was a real shame, and just goes to show that these guys, yeah, well, I mean, what's important to them? Elon Musk produces a lot of his Teslas, his budget cars in China, in
Oh
Shanghai.
yes,
So yeah,
yep.
I mean, that's you know, that's one way, and a choke point that the Chinese have over him. Or I mean, no wonder you were saying he never says anything bad about China, and then posts those videos like, "Oh, what do you notice about China?" you know, and it's
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah,
long
yeah.
things.
Oh
Yeah,
man, these videos are really. What do you notice, right? This is Moscow. What do you notice? You only see like pretty white girls, right? And
Yeah.
then
Don't go
this
down the
is
street where all the Chechens or whatever
yeah,
live.
yeah, yeah,
and this is England. What do you notice? And it's only Muslims, right?
yeah. Oh, jeez, it's terrible, ain't it? Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, these people are all compromised in one way or another, and
It sure
yeah,
seems like it. Yeah.
mm. Yeah. It kind of seems like. I mean, hopefully Americans awaken to the extent of this in time, but it kind of really seems like it for now. The protection of the West and just decency in the world kind of remains at the feet of the Europeans. They because I think they understand what's going on, what Russia is, and the encroaching threat that they pose. So
Fortunately, yes.
mm, mm. So at least there's that. Hopefully America can muster the same sense of urgency and begin to exert pressure in this way, because it's like so easy, like so many Americans they I mean, JD Vance just says like, oh, you need to do something about your immigration in Europe, and of course we're going to have mass deportations in America, and it never eventuates. It's
Oh,
all
his numbers are lower than Biden's.
oh, really? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, well, there you go. So
Yeah, that's really well. To
mm,
be fair, the border crossings have declined a lot, so there's like
Yeah.
less people that you can deport. So I'll give him.
Yeah, the border
okay.
crossings are down a lot, but there's not really deporting the people that are already in.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that needs to happen ASAP, because a lot of people did come over, like around about the COVID period, actually. Like a lot of Chinese people and Iranians. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's the thing, right? A lot of Chinese are coming in, and they don't really leave the country without the CCP knowing. And to
mm,
me, that's a pretty big deal because they're obviously going to try to recruit these people to at least get something out of it, right?
Mm,
So
yeah, there's like a
the
long
Chinese are pretty smart. I must give it to them. Like no one suspects them really to do anything because they are not really involved in physical war.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, but they are mobilizing like in the Pacific. That I'm not sure what exactly they'll be waiting for, but at a certain point, it's kind of hard for them though because in the midst of their collapsing economy, they kind of need a strong economy to be able to, of course, wage war. So if they're tariffed out the years, it might be difficult for them. They can't leave it too long, or otherwise that will have a weaker response. But I don't know. Maybe that's where the Belt and Road Initiative comes in Israel, and maybe that's just going to once they solidify that, um, which the Trump admin might play a crucial role in. Maybe that's going to be their saving grace for their economies. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, we're seeing just kind of outright Russian cucking to the Russians from the fat-faced JD Vance admin and Trump. So who knows how crazy it could get, next administration, especially with AOC. People are saying like, "Oh, AOC, she's going to be the next president." So, I
I
mean,
don't
I
think
just
that's
don't
true.
trust it.
I don't think
Yeah,
that's going to happen.
People are actually saying that.
yeah, they they are because
Wow.
they really seem to be what do you call it? Like fluffing up her ego and really, you know, she's I
they'll
can
just
see
hand
why.
they'll just hand the
Hmm.
Republicans another 4 years if the Democrats actually do run AOC as their candidate.
Yeah, I can see why they're saying that. I'm not sold on it yet because I think what they need is like another white male like Biden to be viable,
Yeah,
at
but
least
not a
for the
million
short
years
term.
old.
Yeah, who's not about? Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, look, they tried with Clinton. They tried with who's the other Indian lady on the yeah, so many Indians, man. The one who writes on messages on bombs directed toward Gaza. What's her name? Nikki Haley.
Yeah, Nikki
And
Haley.
yeah, there's
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah, Nikki Haley, and then there was
Who got suspiciously more pill as the years went by.
yeah, that's right. That's funny. And her real name is like Namrata or
Yeah, yeah.
Radhabara or something like that. Something I can't pronounce. But yeah, and then there's Kamala Harris. So they're really kind of quite keen on the idea of some sort of like a brownish female, I guess. But if not just if so, I mean, I don't know. It's like pretty wacky. Maybe they will try to maybe not yet, but I can see why they're saying that because they've AOC has been given some what could you say revolutionary sounding speeches, so we'll see what they do with her, but that would be quite funny. But yeah, yeah, we'll have to see with that because what do you think about the future of this, Jeff? Do you think? I mean, it seems like a lot of this stuff is happening, but given time, I mean, what do you have any predictions about what could happen in the future? Is support for Ukraine going to accelerate over the years? Are people finally getting it that enough to the point where the flow of support will allow the Ukrainians to more adequately defend themselves, or um, but what do you have any ideas about the future, Jeff?
Well, it's really rough. Like, in regards to, the right wing, let's say, changing their mind on Ukraine.
Mm,
I don't know. They're so busy worrying about the leftists and about, the LGBTQ and stuff that they completely disregard any of this.
mm, mm, mm,
X is like the main source where people get their information. It's completely flooded with this information being propped up by Elon Musk.
Yeah.
There's tons of Indians there who are just reposting each other's content of like JD Vance news and Trump news.
JD Vance,
It's
dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitting nose around.
So dumb. Yeah.
And, any decent info hardly gets any traction, which is clearly done on purpose. Like, I don't trust Trump for a bit. Like, I immediately talked about this Trump coin. I hardly hear people talk about this. I think this is a really horrible thing to do. His wife did the same. They completely rug pulled it. It can be used for, now there's like meme coin engulfed in foreign funding scandal. China, Saudi Arabia, Qatar named. I mean, it's like an easy way to invest in him, really. And the way he's handled Ukraine, like he always talks positively somewhat about Putin. He even called him a genius at some point. He always talks absolutely horribly about Zelensky. Like now I think that was yesterday, Bridget Brink, the ambassador to Ukraine, actually resigned because of his foreign policy. He says, I have proudly served 5 presidents to make sure the United States is the strongest, greatest country that the world has ever known.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the policy since the beginning of the Trump admin has been to put pressure on the victim rather than the aggressor, which is absolutely true. And then she also said, why does Russia's invasion of Ukraine matter to the US? It matters because how we handle this war will speak volumes to our friends as well as our foes.
That's
If we allow Putin to redraw borders by force, he won't stop with Ukraine. Taken at his word, Putin's ambition is to resurrect an imperial past. And he can't do that without threatening the security of our NATO allies. Now, Trump is, spouting all kinds of anti-NATO rhetoric. He always has, by the way. And he clearly is constantly criticizing Europe as well, sanctioning Europe. There's also this really weird obsession with Greenland, Canada, and Panama and stuff, which is interesting because
Well, the Canada
Elon
stuff's just
Musk's.
silly. It's like I don't understand what
It
Trump's
is,
doing
yeah.
there. It's just like
It is.
being a troll, and I don't really get why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think it's. I'm not sure if it's unserious. But what's interesting is that Elon Musk's grandfather was actually the founder of the Technocracy Party or something, and they had this map of like this utopia they wanted to create, and it included Canada, Greenland, and Panama. So
I heard about that. It was some sort
I'm
of
not
like
sure.
Hyperborea.
It's a
Sort of,
bit. Yeah,
it was
it's a bit
weird.
tinfoil hat, but it's pretty interesting. Nonetheless.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. I mean, just like with Europe, it seemed like it was so silly. It's like, are you trying to alienate our allies from the United States? And honestly, it seems like that was sort of the thrust of it all. Because it's like, what came of that was just nothing, and it just ended up hurting the United States. So it's like again, like
Yeah, and
yeah,
he's
the
now
very intense.
also. Yeah, he's now also. He posted something on like about Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain because Walmart made billions of dollars last year. Okay, and between
Yeah.
Walmart and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything.
I thought the whole thing with tariffs was like Trump was going to decrease other taxes while imposing tariffs, but then he just didn't do the other part. He just put on the tariffs with no other relief. It was weird. It's like what you'd think like you'd be smart and like maybe decrease like the income tax rate or something when you put the tariffs on, but they just didn't. So I don't know, bit odd.
I thought it was a very interesting idea, actually.
Yeah, I mean having tariffs and decreasing income tax. I mean it's viable, but he didn't do
Well,
the
they
second
wanted to
part.
abolish.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting rid of it. That's probably a bit of a pipe dream. That'd be pretty cool if they did, but
Yeah, that
that'll
would
be
be a very risky, but perhaps very successful experiment. But I don't know.
yeah, but they didn't do that. They just put like all these tariffs on and then didn't do anything else. It's like, where's the relief? Like, obviously tariffs are going to increase prices. Where's the bit to get a bit of purchasing power back to the the taxpayer?
Yeah, a lot of people misunderstand tariffs. They think that if you put tariffs on China, then China has to somehow pay for it, but that's not true. It's American
Yeah,
companies
it's the
that have to
importers.
pay more for
Yeah,
the imports.
yeah, the importers have to pay
And
it.
so eventually it is going to hurt the consumers. Now, if this was really the golden plan, I think Americans should be prepared to pay a little bit more to really get rid of Chinese influence and dependency on China.
Yeah,
But
I
is
agree.
that really what's going on? That's the question.
Yeah, well,
Is that really what's happening?
they ended up taxing literally tariffing every country on Earth instead of just China and America's
Yeah,
adversaries.
Mm,
It was
mm,
weird.
even their
yeah.
allies. Yeah.
Even
Mm.
countries that import more from the United States, like Australia, they just put tariffs on them too, even though they're doing what Americans should want by buying
Right.
American goods.
Yeah, so retarded, and then that they ended up isolating themselves diplomatically and strategically as Korea and Japan actually moved closer in a security pact with China, and Europe, of course, explored trade options with China as well. So it kind of actually had, whereas they all moved away from the United States. Um,
Every time.
yeah, so
The
it's like.
sanctions thing, for
Mm,
example, it every time it pushes people into the hands of China.
yeah. So these tariffs were like a huge failure. We're gonna fail so much, everybody. You're gonna get tired of failing. It's like this is some golden age, guys. Like I thought this was about winning for crying out loud.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
pretty
here's
funny.
an example for like China's CNPC takes over Iranian mega gas project from France's Total after the sanctions happened. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I'm still waiting on Trump to blow those freaking domes off of Putin's head that he promised. That's what he said. I'm gonna
Yeah.
hit him in the middle of freaking Moscow. He said, okay, well, let's see it.
Yeah, yeah.
I would love to see it, but unfortunately, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you look at the people who he surrounds himself with, I mean, we've only scratched the surface of it, right? With the Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel thing, RFK Jr. Like, these people are really bad by themselves, but I mean, you look at Trump as well. He also worked with Dimitri Simes, for example, right? He was a Trump campaign advisor in 2016. Well, he was charged for his work for sanctioned Russian TV. He also has a show regularly with Dugan. Actually, this guy.
Hmm.
And then you have, like you said before, this whole Kashnov situation. I'm not sure if I really buy it. Like, I
Yeah.
think you've had Navrazov on your show,
Mhm.
and I did a clip on this, and he replied that basically he said that I don't think that's true because he is so over the top pro Kremlin that he couldn't possibly be an agent. Right? They would never allow it.
That's
And I
pretty
think,
funny.
yeah, I think he might be right.
Yeah.
And
It's a good point.
that guy who talked about Kashnov, there was also Yuri Shvets who said something very similar.
Oh
He
yeah.
was a Soviet intelligence officer who worked as a mayor in the KGB from 80s to the 90s. He stated that Trump was cultivated as a Russian asset over 40 years and proved so willing to parrot anti-Western propaganda that there were celebrations in Moscow. Now, again, I'm not sure if I really buy this, but you know, then there's also that in 2008, he sold a Palm Beach mansion to Russian oligarch Dmitry Rybolovlev for 95 million, even though he bought it for 40 million. And there's this massive Mueller report that people really easily dismiss because Mueller said there wasn't enough evidence to charge him with conspiracy. That may be true, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have Russian ties. It doesn't mean that they did not want him in power. There was absolutely interference, and Mueller said so himself. So whether he works with Russia or not, it doesn't really matter. The Russians definitely wanted him in power. And, even through QAnon, they had the whole anti uh, Clinton campaign going on as well, which Alex Jones still rants about today. Like everything is, Hillary Clinton. If you
The
look at
Clinton
BitChute, for
Foundation, right?
example, yeah, but also Seth Rich, for example, right? That Hillary Clinton killed him, even though, for giving all the DNC emails to WikiLeaks. Now, clearly, as Mueller investigated as well, it clearly came from Russian sources. And there's the Julian Assange. I mean, he had a show on RT called World Tomorrow. His father is on RT all the time. You know, he fled to Moscow just like Snowden did, his buddy. Like, it's so clear. Like, there's also this article where it said, like, Julian Assange was sitting on a trove of documents regarding Russia, but just refused to publish it. Right. And there's something very interesting about Assange because there was a hacking group a few decades ago in Australia that was allegedly, entering into all kinds of U.S. Governmental networks who were being paid by or had deals with Russia to sell it to them, and it's very likely that Assange was a part of this hacking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there are so many things about people don't realize. Like again, someone who's lauded as a hero, but there's so many dubious things about that guy, which yeah, strongly suggest he is some sort of agent or operative. Um, yeah, there's so many things. Johnny Gat again does some good work there, and also Alex Benish and Nyquist have exposed a lot of his past. How he like harassed some woman and yeah it's I won't go into it all, but like yeah, he's a very yeah, very dubious guy. You can see this Russian media monitor, and you can kind of get a fairly good feel about from looking at this how they feel about Trump, and it kind of they go kind of back and forth on Trump. Sometimes they're celebrating him, sometimes they're a bit pouty lipped about Trump, and then they sort of joke about him and make him out to be like a clown like
Yeah.
figure as well. So it's
Well, that he certainly is.
yeah, yeah, no, they're right
I
about
don't
that. Yeah.
disagree with that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So I mean, it's I mean they're sort of clowns themselves actually, but
Oh, Soloviev, absolutely. This
so
guy is a complete nutcase.
yeah, it's basically like having Alex Jones as like the main, I guess, commentator. I don't know. It's like having
Oh yeah,
Alex
he's
Jones
the
and
Russian
there's
Alex Jones. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But
he
it's like
was on
having
Alex Jones a few times too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He was, yeah, yeah, and he even said to Alex, like, Alex, anytime you want to come to Russia, you just give us the okay. We will fly you out of there. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, Alex Jones also sourced over 1,000 RT articles. He's been on RT multiple times as well.
yeah,
I mean, he always talks about the New World Order being the most horrific thing in the world. But then he covers that Putin wants to create a multipolar world order, which is just a new world order, right? But
yeah,
then,
yeah,
but
yeah,
Alex
yeah.
Jones is like, yeah, but so instead of having this, if you compare it to music, you have one single note, but instead you have a multipolar world order, so you add a bunch of notes and it becomes beautiful music. I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
So dumb. That is so stupid.
Yeah,
That guy just says anything, man. That is so retarded. Oh God. Oh, jeez, that is so ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know when he's gonna make the trip over to Mexico because
To
that's what
Mexico.
yeah, well
right.
that's what who's that movie about something Stein? He is involved in the creation of the atomic bomb. Um, I can't
Well,
remember.
Oppenheimer. What are you talking about?
Oppenheimer, yeah,
Right?
not something Stein.
Something
Yeah,
Stein.
yeah, I mean that's what Oppenheimer did. He like I think he escaped the U.S. because they found him out to be
Yeah,
like
communist.
yeah, communist and like giving away sensitive nuclear missile tech. I believe
Yeah.
it was. So yeah, but yeah, so yeah, who knows? Whatever Trump is, you know, they have mixed feelings about him at any one time, and but they know they can manipulate Trump as CCP document revealed from Luda Media, basically saying they believe they've psychologically clocked him, and they know based on his his psychotype, if you can put it that way, um, that they know how to control him. And I think we can sort of see that has worked. I mean, he's doing like everything you shouldn't be doing, basically, and he's doing a good job at isolating America and just making things harder for America's allies. And yeah, so it's actually difficult to say what's golden about this new golden age that they're putting forth. But yeah, so we'll just have to see, man. We'll just have to see. Um,
Well, I think Europe is gonna do better and better. That I'm very excited about. So I think that's very good news. Like I talk to many people, of course, since I'm from Europe myself,
mm,
and yeah, the only thing I'm worried about is things like AFD. Right, that's pretty worrisome.
mm, mm,
And I really hope the Germans realize that these people are really not your friend. And yeah,
Well, like I said before, the AFDs are created by the circumstance of the German political establishment. They need to actually, if the conservatives actually start listening to people, then the AFD won't be a thing. It's
yeah,
it's pretty
right.
easy. It's a pretty easy problem to solve, but there's just no political will there. It's sort of crazy.
Mm, mm,
well, I actually went to a presentation by a German guy who was like involved with NATO. Something he was involved with NATO defense, whatever. But he talked about how Germany has really been, just beaten down since World War II. And, every time the German people want to rearm themselves, the whole world is like, oh, you bunch of Nazis. And, it's so horrible how this is being held against them after
mm.
so long. I mean, the Germans are wonderful people.
They
They
are.
are super innovative. Like, if you really let them do what they need to do, they're going to be the absolute main force of Europe. And that's why I think Germany is being targeted so heavily.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree actually, and a lot of those Habadnik people, they say, oh, Germany is the main place where Amalek is concentrated,
Oh, yeah. Amalek, yeah.
and
And
so is
then,
America. Yeah,
yeah, and then Netanyahu says, remember what Amalek did to
yeah,
you.
yeah. So,
Man, they're really, yeah, again, it's all just psychological manipulation of their own people to, like, hey, the whole world wants to destroy you. Remember the Holocaust?
Yeah.
And, the Germans especially. It's really horrible, like
mm,
for the Germans and quite frankly for the Jewish people too. I mean,
yeah.
they can't get a break this way either. They're constantly on their toes.
Mm, mm. Yeah, no, it's really quite sick. Imagine constantly being told those like really negative things about what happened in the past, and yeah, it's really just a mire of just negativity that they're trying to put upon
Yeah,
themselves. And yeah, I mean, where does it go? Where does this, it just
yeah, and
it
there's
eventually.
more
Mm.
to that, but we can't really get into it on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah, right. Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe another time. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah. So yeah. Well, we do. Hopefully, the new chancellor Merz really will. I don't know how they're going to do it, but hopefully he will restore it to.
Well, he has to, otherwise they're going to hand power to the AFD. Like he sort of has to do it.
Mm, oh yeah, that. Yeah, no. Yeah,
Oh, on
exactly.
immigration,
But
yeah, they have to actually do something, otherwise the AFD is just going to take power. Like
mm.
it's not a hard concept.
Yeah, absolutely, and bolster the military to.
Yeah, I think they're on track for that. I know that what is it, Rheinmetall is setting up some like new artillery plants in like Bavaria. Oh, not Bavaria, Brandenburg or something. So
Okay,
so there's movement there.
that
Uh,
sounds good. Yeah.
But
Yeah, they want to refurbish empty factories to make all kinds of war equipment.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. That I
Very
even
cool.
saw, yeah, I even saw some like new tanks and stuff that they came out with anti-drone capabilities and yeah, it looked. I gotta say, it looked. I mean, I'm not a tank expert, but it looked like some good quality stuff. The
I
way that.
mean, the Germans, are quite known for their Kampfwagens. So
Yeah.
but yeah, Rheinmetall seems to be. I mean, it's a pretty advanced defense contractor, I guess you'd say. So they make good stuff.
Mm,
Seems like they're getting
oh,
more funding.
absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah. No, they can certainly produce better stuff than. I mean, the Russian stuff is really bad. Apparently, like
Yeah, there's
even
just a lot
the.
of it. That's the problem. Like they've got the
Yeah.
Yep.
quantity, which the West doesn't have, which is annoying.
Mm,
Same in World War II. That's
Yes.
that's something that they really excelled at. Quantity over quality, really.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. Whereas Germans are kind of the opposite, but hopefully they can. Hopefully, I think the Germans probably have learned from World War II and the way that their economy is different. I hope so. Like that, they're no longer the kind of socialist type. They're more capitalist. Just to put it bluntly, and hopefully they can maintain parity in numbers as well as a technological and quality advantage over their Russian threat.
I saw that
Because
today.
Yeah.
It's on the
yeah,
article. It's like, of course, the
Oh,
Kremlin's
of
seething about
course.
it.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everyone is a Nazi, man.
uh,
Like this word has completely lost its meaning. Like every time, like they want to denazify Ukraine, right? What it really means is the Ukrainians, they love their country, they love their people, they love their sovereignty, and they want to maintain it. Well, that's
mm,
what you call a Nazi.
Yeah, anyone that
mm,
doesn't want to be a Russian puppet is a Nazi.
yeah,
Anyone who has a survival instinct is a Nazi.
yeah. Well, much like the left, right? The crazed left. So you don't want to be replaced by Mexicans or whatever or Pajites. Well, you're just a
Yeah,
Nazi.
you don't want crime to skyrocket in your neighborhood. Are you a racist?
Yeah. You you don't want your head cut off just because you drew like a picture of a guy
Oh
in a
man,
jersey.
in
Like
France, yeah,
Oh yeah,
that
horrible.
shocking
yeah.
stuff. Uh,
Yeah, no, that's awful.
but yeah, so I mean, it looks like Germany's on the right track. I mean, the government actually has to start delivering on things, like the new government in
Mm,
Germany. Otherwise, yeah, they just hand power to the AfD. Like it's a pretty simple concept, and it's happened. It's starting to happen in places all over Europe because these mainstream parties just don't deliver on anything. And they go, oh, I mean, this guy, he shills for Russia, but he says he's going to fix our country, so we'll just vote for this guy instead. And you're just handing these people power, like by these centrists and conservatives, by just being, you know, nothing, like just doing nothing all the time, not listening to the people. You're handing power to these Kremlin stooges. It's
mm,
like
mm,
politicians actually need to start doing their job. Otherwise, these pro-Putin shills are just going to snatch up power from them. It's
mm, mm, mm.
not a
Yeah,
hard, yeah.
it's not hard. You'd think you'd think it would be simple. Like, oh yeah, let's not totally bow to our enemies and just let them, shackle us. But yeah, I don't know. Like, apparently people in the AFD or other parts of Europe don't really seem to. I mean, equally, like other parties as well, like the Greens are kind of
Oh,
in their own way helping to achieve that, with the energy transition.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course. I
you know,
mean, that's true, like pretty much all over the West. Is
they
just the
yeah,
Greens being subversive as possible to destroy their own countries. So
literally getting their marching orders from Mikhail Gorbachev.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, just Jill Stein. You just have to look at Jill Stein and whatnot. A lot of them
yeah.
literally are getting their orders from the Kremlin. I mean, a lot, yeah. I mean, but they're not as much as a threat, or they're not like anywhere near the levers of power that these populists, these pro-Putin populists are, like in the AfD and other places.
Mm,
The
mm,
Greens are just a different threat, which still is a threat, but not as big at the moment. Anyway.
mm, mm, mm. I think, yeah, people just just one of the things you just can't. People can't be so credulous and trusting of everything, and it's like again, it just comes back to people need to really ensure people are doing their job really and protecting their country. But yeah, how to do that is the question. But yeah, yeah. Did you guys want to say anything else or go over anything?
Should we start wrapping up? We've been going for 3.5 hours, so
Yeah,
Oh
it's been.
damn.
Oh, we can go for a lot longer, but let's save it for another time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can tell you. You've a lot of different things that you wanted to. But no, today was very information packed, and I think it will be quite cool, Hector, to do like a European kind of panel with like all the Europeans we've had on with Jeff and discuss the future of Europe because that might be quite cool. But
Who
in
else did
future,
you have on?
oh, we had some people who were associated with Nyquist. So we've had Jean Robin from France.
Maurice from
Uh,
Germany, like a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, we had a guy Maurice from Germany. We've had a guy from Ireland. Um, who else did we have?
Emmett Comma. Yeah.
Emmett Connor. Yeah. We have a guy. We actually had a guy in. He's an American, but he was in Ukraine. And okay, so we don't have that many. I'm pretty sure there are probably we know some Europeans that we've been meaning to talk to. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, that's
Anyways,
Good.
we'll do that another time. I will
mm,
start wrapping up. I posted Jeff's Twitter in the chat in YouTube, and let me post it in Rumble. There we go. Now it's on Rumble as well. Make sure to give him a follow. Great channel, great Twitter page. Give his stuff a read. Give it a watch. Yeah, you'll learn a lot because he's a very knowledgeable man. So yeah, I hope everyone's had a great day. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Any last words, Jeff, before we sign off?
Well, I hope the West can band together and defeat the East. That's it.
Yeah,
that's right.
hopefully.
That's
That's right.
why. That's why I called it Western Alliance Resistance. Wasn't even my idea actually, but I think it's a good name.
It
Absolutely.
is. I like it. Yeah. Mm,
All right.
awesome.
Hope everyone has a great weekend. Have a great day. Stay blessed, not stressed, and we'll see you next time.